So we're doing
We're gonna go from the top.
straight from the top.
Straight from the top.
Straight from the top.
From the beginning.
We are starting from the top.
From
Straight
the
from the
beginning.
Straight from the top.
Welcome back to From the Vault podcast, a podcast all about the tabletop from the perspective of a store owner and a store player and
overall store big boy.
overall store big boy.
Overall store big boy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
let's
the big
go.
hair.
That's what I'm all about. That's what I'm here for.
So we're just going to be chatting about the news and a big topic that we're focusing on this week as well. So, we also got to remember, use the pipers in the background there.
Of course.
Sup?
Oh my god.
Do it again.
Hello. Yes, yeah.
No, this is the first time we're recording this. Don't say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
First time we're recording
First
this.
time, it's fine.
That's
Yeah.
the first time Piper made that mistake.
Hi,
Fool me
everyone.
once.
All right.
All
We're into
right,
the news
let's
today.
get on to the news. First up, we've got Heroscape. Age of Annihilation. Is it enough to bring Heroscape back? Or is it doomed to fade into obscurity now that the campaign has failed on Hasbro Pulse? So, for those that don't know, years ago, decades, if you will, there was a game thing called Heroscape, which was kind of like the next step on Hero Quest, where Hasbro kind of had like a hex-based minis kind of adventure game.
It feels like they were almost like getting into the market, right? They were like, oh, we can make a minis game.
Yeah.
Something that's like more collectible and can like bring a force to the game. And, you know, as you mentioned there, that hex space, that kind of Hero Quest stuff, it was like you would bring parts of a board. Right? We would bring parts of a board to a game and you guys would assemble a cool board together that would have like a bit of...
Yeah, and then
Still very much designed like a role-playing system.
yeah, and then they kind of stopped printing it in the early 2000s, and then they tried to bring it back, and unfortunately, it did not meet their requirements for the campaign, even though the campaign ended.
Yeah,
they just decided that like the trajectory was that it wasn't going to make it, so they cancelled it, and they're going to be focusing on Heroscape. Right, pointed.
Yeah, look, when I was a kid, I grew up with a little bit of Heroscape. I played some with my mate, Connor. We were really big into Heroscape. Love that game. I feel like there's a word that comes to me like that I mentioned. It's inevitability, right? Around Heroscape and around this new game coming out. I think it's even harder today to get into the market. Like before, it was like what games were out there that were doing what Warhammer was doing. Warhammer. Oh,
Yeah.
that's the game. That's the game that does what Warhammer's doing. Yep, that's about it. But now it's like, you know, you've got Star Wars Legion obviously is massive. And they got the new Shatterpoint coming out for Star Wars Legion as well, which is very exciting. You know, you've got Warhammer, of course, that's still huge, still massive. You've got games like Malifaux. You've got tons of stuff in the format now, in the market now, that I feel like it's hard, right? I feel like by definition, Heroscape would have had to have some kind of overwhelming community response, right?
Well, it did have the kind of like open style of play, the open style of creation going. So from what I understand, like the Heroscape also had this capability where you build your own character and bring your own force, kind of have your own AV system for that, but which a lot of games don't do anymore. I remember Age of Sigmar flirted with it a little in second edition, where they had the like build your own hero kind of idea.
Yeah.
And then
and that still exists in the third edition in White Dwarf stuff, but yeah, it's also an afterthought, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
an afterthought, yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. I think that, yeah, I definitely feel that the game, I can't stress that enough, right? Like, it's what does it offer that's so different? And then the argument is like, oh, well, you can bring your own heroes and bring your own units and stuff, and that's cool. But then when they showed off the new Age of Annihilation, this new version of the game, now a lot of people may not have seen this already because again, Heroscape.
Yeah.
But that wasn't really shown off in that trailer or in that any of that kind of marketing. Like a lot of the marketing was like, oh, you could play Heroscape again, and here are the new armies and the new characters, the new faction we're designing, and here's the new formatting for the old rules and stuff that we're designing. And it felt very much like, oh, I just like pick a faction, build an army, I put my units in my faction, they cost X amount of resources to bring. I invite your faction with my faction, which is every other game.
yeah,
Does that. Every other game does that in some way.
but definitely suffered from the fact that they pushed the openness too much and didn't create a compelling like theme or story around it.
Yeah, that also is definitely true. Yeah, exactly.
And that makes
yeah.
sense.
I think it's 100%. I think like I can't say you said disappointed before. I'm definitely disappointed as far as like Hasbro is concerned. I think Hasbro are infamous for kind of, I don't think, you know, I think if you're in Hasbro's position, right, it's understandable.
Yeah.
But they are so quick to just throw things to the wall or just throw things in the trash. That's so frustrating to me. It's like when you look at the way Magic's being treated, and we'll get into this as we talk in the podcast, but today, the way Magic's being treated by Hasbro at the moment is like kind of unredeemable, kind of like undefendable. And then also the way that they treated this release as well.
Yeah.
What I think is going to be really exciting is when, not really if, but when another company goes, oh, well, you know, we're a bunch of old guys in our 40s or whatever, and we used to play Heroscape as kids. Let's make our own Heroscape, make our own hex-based battle. And we'll use what they, like Age of Annihilation had some good ideas and such, and we can reference that and bring it back. Or we can even contact the developers of that game and have them work with us and get them off Hasbro, that kind of stuff. I see that happening.
Yeah.
I think it's a game that Heroscape has a very dedicated fan base. And I think you say that dedicated fan base is a really funny band-aid, isn't it? When you're saying games are too old or have failed, that's when you say like they have a dedicated fan base. They have a dedicated
it's like
small
there's a
community.
dedicated fan base of Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Exactly, and a dedicated fan base for No Man's Sky.
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff. So it's like, I feel like that's what we're gonna find. We're gonna be like, when people ask us, "Hey, do you see that new Heroscape game?" We're gonna be like, "There's a dedicated fan base out there.
There's people out there that want to play it. Unfortunately, not enough.
Not enough." And by the way, it's also weird because I feel like the kind of people that want to invest in Heroscape and the kind of like demographic that I think would be super excited for a new version of Heroscape is not the demographic who spends their time on the Hasbro polling website and spends their time like responding to those things. So it feels like the data is also totally like fabricated. It almost feels
absolutely.
Like
if there was some way for us as store owners, as game store runners and operators, to get involved with that Hasbro Pulse system, I think there would be a much greater reception to it.
Absolutely.
Because obviously, like the whole thing is that it's going to go to print if enough people want this to happen. Well, you know, I mean, it worked for HeroQuest, and then we as a retailer bought HeroQuest as well at a wholesale level. So, like, it needs to have the fans to be able to push the product existing, but there's thousands of store owners out there that have dedicated communities that aren't all online, that want these things to succeed because, get real with it, we want to make money from it.
Exactly. And I think, and that comes back to the whole our community as well. It's like, I don't think I could talk to somebody who comes in often, the kind of people who I know play like role-playing games, RPG, and wargaming. Like, I don't think any of them would have even known the URL to get to that poll. I don't think they would have even known. So it's like, to me, it's like, that's really an important point, I think. It's
like I heard about, like even me as a store owner, I heard about Heroscape happening, and then I didn't hear anything about it until I got the, hey, guess what? It's failed. Polygon.
Yeah.
So, well, you know.
And that sucks. And that's like, I want to, and obviously it's being treated very differently, but this arc, instead of the last episode, we talked about the new, right?
Yeah.
We talked about that getting a resurgence, essentially. Now, that's obviously Heroscape is also like essentially the same kind of company working on it. But, and I think that Keyforge has that beneficial kind of, it's a whole new set of eyes. Publishers getting involved that are the same.
Well, I mean, like, it's the guy that originally ran.
That's right. But he wasn't the kind of, maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't think he was the one overseeing.
No, once Asmodee got.
That's right. So, yeah. So it feels like, it feels like they might have some advantage there. But sorry, my point is even like, they may not. That's my point. Sorry, but they may not. Like, I think we might see this also happen with the new game as well, because I feel like it's, well, hopefully not, because these games are really cool.
Yeah,
I want to see them fucking playable. But yeah, it just worries me because it's like, it's a time when, I feel like, and we're going to get into this as well today, but I feel like companies that have monopolies, you know, there's always like a small problem with that, right? Always like a small issue that comes around with like how they decide to release product and what kind of product they release and what we have to deal with as the community or as the buyer, as the customer,
end consumer.
As the end consumer, thank you. As the end consumer. Yeah, it's like insane. I don't know. It's so upsetting because, you know,
it could have been something.
Yeah, they create something. Right?
Look what you did to my boy.
Exactly. It creates something else. Even if it's not, and you know, Heroscape's cool. I'm not trying to say like, everyone should love Heroscape, play Heroscape. It was cool, whatever.
It was cool.
But at the end of the day, it's more games out there. It's more options out there. It's more decision making out there. You know, it's more dollars that get pulled from some huge monopolized game that makes that company make different decisions, you know? That makes them make decisions and go, maybe we need to modernize. But why modernize when every other company is just saying, oh, we
Yeah,
just
I
don't
can't
work.
bother. Yeah.
I can't bother. I'm not going to be bothered.
Too
So.
much work.
And that's what it is. It's too much work, isn't it? Which is so BS.
Well, talking about monopolies,
Whoa.
let's go into the second topic.
Okay.
Well, the second piece of news here. In other Hasbro news, Bank of America, B of A, has downgraded Hasbro's stock.
Yeah. Wow.
From it's no longer a buy. What are the stock bros saying? Well, the article is hidden behind a paywall. The NBC Pro web. To try and give you a summary for you. Essentially, the stock bros at B of A said that Hasbro is reprinting high investment products too much. So they identified one of their major reasons was the MTG 30th anniversary thing, but then identified it as they're reprinting reserve list cards.
Oh,
Which, firstly, if you're using Magic as an investment property, you can go for yourself.
Yeah, first of all.
That's gonna get censored. But
yeah, that's what we said. I think I think individualism, I think each to their own. I think if you have opportunities and you can benefit from them, you should take those opportunities, right? I think there are, and I think some people are in positions where it's very useful to have that opportunity. But I also agree that if you're going to make the investment with the idea that it's stable, like in any way, if you believe it to be genuinely stable and you believe that you deserve some kind of there needs to be some kind of restriction to the way this market works because you've now invested into it.
Yeah,
that's where it becomes ridiculous.
That's not how it works.
You're that's not how it works. You come
that's
in
not
and
how it
you're
works
anywhere. But you come in and you're like, well, you as the random person here, the hypothetical person, they come in and go oh, I've invested, $10,000 into Magic the Gathering. I better by definition make my money back or some extra.
Yeah.
If I lose any money, this is a problem of the games industry and a problem with Hasbro and a problem with right?
Which is completely wrong. Like you
Of
own
course,
a couple of barrels
BS.
of oil, you don't get to tell OPEC what to do. Like
exactly, yeah.
But then also the other thing they identified, which was like a footnote in their identification as to why it's a problem, is the customer fatigue over the new sets being released. Now, personally, from my standpoint as a store owner, I think it's more the latter issue that's the problem, not the former. Reprint reserve list into the ground. Yeah. But because it's already shown that cards of older sets that have been reprinted still retain value.
Yeah.
Negate from Alpha and Beta and Revised still holds ridiculous value. It's still like a $200 card, a $250 card, and it is a 4-cent uncommon.
Yeah.
In current sets.
Yeah, that's printed every second set minimum.
Yeah, it's so your argument's bust. I don't care. But the fatigue thing is a very real.
Definitely.
We saw it, like we notified on the last podcast where people complained about double mark. Right? Like that happened because there was set, big money set. Like these people are like customers are built into this idea that they need to buy everything, and now you've essentially quadrupled your output.
Well, that's the important one, right? It's like you talk about sets and sets and sets, right? But I think that the fatigue is it's. I'm not trying to say that we've always had a fast release cycle. Like it's not been ordinarily Magic. Well, it has been for the last few years. But ordinarily, we had like half-year releases, right?
Yeah.
And they became quarterly releases. And everyone's like, hey, quarterly releases, bit much, but I can keep up with that.
Yeah,
it's not so bad.
Particularly when they move to the single set blocks.
Especially when single set blocks. But then the single set blocks bring their own problem, and you talk about that quadrupling the market. It's not, well, it is, but it's not so much just the fact there's so many sets. It's sets within the sets, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like
the variants.
It's like I have to, I'm juggling up draft boosters, collectors, and set boosters, right? As the 3 type of boosters I can buy off every pack. So that means, especially on our shelves, for example, when we invest in New Capenna, for example, we're getting draft boosters, set boosters, collector boosters, bundles, commander decks.
5 commander decks for New Capenna as well.
Different commander decks for New Capenna as well. And then, you've got cards.
And there was theme boosters too, which are now jumpstart boosters.
Jumpstart boosters. Like, it's so much of the same product.
Yeah, it is a lot of product.
But it's not even like just the same product because, you got set boosters where they can come with unique cards inside. Brothers War set boosters are going to come with Transformers cards inside. As in they do, sorry. But, they come with Transformers cards inside. You've got collector boosters that come with unique cards inside, guaranteed, like those Golden Age foils, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like the set comes out and then a week later, 2 weeks later, hundreds of like thousands of different cards and different versions of those same cards
Yeah.
all rolling around, right?
Yeah.
And then I think it's also basic things of like Commander being a game that, you know, you don't get bragging rights in Commander for winning all the time. There's, depending on your group, of course, you know, your mileage may vary, but like you don't get that much clout for winning in Commander because most people understand it's a multiplayer game that has a lot of variance. So most people believe that if you're winning very often, you're probably your cards are probably just better more often than not. You know, your cards are a lot better. So it's not that much like bragging rights. I think in Commander, the bragging rights layer, and they've caught on this, the bragging rights layer is like, you know, I've got the foil judge stamped.
Yeah,
I've
got the judge. Hell, I even got the judge smothering tithe.
That kind of stuff, or even just like that new Edgar Markov art that was the judge exclusive. That kind of stuff, you know. I've got a really gorgeous $200 Edgar Markov. Look at my command in the command zone. You know? Oh, I've got the secret layer version of like Zergo Helm Smasher, and I've got, you know, Warlord Gazgol Thraka. So I've got these really cool like versions of these cards, highly foiled stuff, and that just is like because that's kind of like. I don't want to say it's like the goal of Commander. Of course not. The blinging out your deck is not the goal of Commander, but it feels like that's what happens. And it feels like that's what the game wants you to kind of do. Like in Standard, you didn't necessarily bling out all 4 Hydroid Krasis because you knew they were going to rotate out. But of course, in Commander, you're going to want to get that etched foil that came out of Double Masters, right? Because, you know, that's going to make your deck look even cooler and it's going to be really cool cards. So you as a player want to invest more and more in these high quality versions of cards, these higher rarity versions. Let's not call them high quality. Right, but these higher rarity versions of these cards.
Well, we got the guy that was from DreamHack last week because he had secret layer foils of Port of Calling in his deck.
Yep. See, isn't that wild?
Legitimate cards.
Yeah, isn't that wild? So this is the thing. It's like, and I think that's where the fatigue also starts to set in, where it's like, oh, I can't just be happy with Ziatora because I got a Ziatora. No, I want to showcase Golden Age foil Ziatora.
Yeah,
right?
But there's 2 layers to it. Then you've got the fact that there's a product coming out every month.
Yeah,
Magic now, when it used to be once every half months ish.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 months around. Yeah,
it was a little bit more than 3 months because we had those supplementary sets in between as well.
Of course, yeah. Sorry.
So it was only like 2 supplementary sets a year.
Yeah, no,
2 or 3 at most. So it was kind of like, it was very chill. And now all of a sudden it's just bam, 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 something every month. Things are getting delayed. So we had Warhammer Commander decks and Unfinity both delayed to the same date in October.
Isn't that wild?
And then that killed printing numbers because Warhammer 40k Commander decks sold out. Like we pre-sold everything.
Instantly, by the way.
And we still have pre-orders waiting for the second wave that's due to come in like this or next week.
And we still have people every day coming in and asking for
them. Yeah.
And asking when we're going to get more in. Like, you know what I mean?
And then 100%. We've got, and then, within those sets too, you've got all the variants. So even in the supplementary sets, like, you know, Double Masters 2022, you had like 5 variants of a card.
Yeah.
So you need to like, it's just really hard that they've essentially like exponentially grown how much product you need to own, either a collector or a player.
Yeah. And if you're a collector, it's now horrible, right? Because like, you know, you're getting extended foil or borderless foil cards, and some of them, they're worth like $55 Australian, whatever. But like, you know, we have like Teachings of the Archaics from Strixhaven. I remember like in the store we had 8 extended foils of that card.
Yeah.
And it was like 40 cents.
Yep.
And it was the same. It was like the last card in your collector booster. It was the rarest card in your collector booster, and it was a 40-cent card.
Rare.
It was a bulk rare, and it's like that's what makes things so frustrating.
Yeah. Look, also, Watsy, just give up. Stop putting common foils in collector boosters.
Oh, stop!
Don't do it.
Also, I feel so dirty.
Give us 6 cards, all rares. Like, just commit to it. Like,
it's not hard.
Just accept that this is where we're at.
I remember. I feel so dirty nowadays because, like, I remember when like Dominaria first came out, and I played like Adelies the Cinderwind, and I was like, uncommon legendaries. Let's go! This is so exciting. So exciting. I love uncommon legendaries. I like the design space of them. I like the accessibility of them. I like other people having access to them. I think they're great, and they usually define themselves at like a PowerPoint. They're an uncommon command, and they say we can really only be this good. You know, more often than not, there are odd ones out. This is as good as I am. So it lets you kind of frame your deck with this is as good as it is. So you can play a deck that really does feel a little bit weaker, and it's like, you know, well, I understand that, and it's like it's designed that way because my command is uncommon. Anyway, I really like that, and also opens up Pauper EDH, which I think is a really cool format people can really enjoy. And you can make a Pauper deck without it being illegal in other formats. You can just play an uncommon commander that's legal. So my point being is that with Commander and with these kind of like uncommon cards, it's like we went from, we're getting like 10 a set. This is great. Now we're getting 10 a set. and they each have like a version of the showcase that I could have gotten mythics and rares in. I could have gotten really useful cards in. But now I'm getting mythics and showcase variants, which could be mythic and rares of these uncommon
the etched
cards.
foil backgrounds and Commander Legends. All right.
Yeah.
But that's not the main topic for today,
Sorry.
and I'm sure it's one that we'll discuss at some point in the future.
We'll
Let
get
us
into that a
know
little bit
in
more.
the comments if it is something you want to hear us talk about, particularly considering Trent runs the TCG singles powered by Vault Games.
Exactly right.
So yeah, let us know in the comments if that's what you want to see, and don't forget to click like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Finally, last piece of news and some good news.
Oh.
Not just all bad. We've got some good news. We love good news. According to the Asmodee website, the Asmodee shop website, Star Wars RPG core rulebook reprints are scheduled to release on December the 16th.
Let's go. Very exciting stuff.
I know that's the US date. I don't know what the Australian date is. If we're lucky, the Australian suppliers are peeling pallets off in production rather than like after they've hit distribution in the US, as is common for a lot of games. So if we do, we should see them here before Christmas. But who knows?
Hopefully.
I really want to get more people in the game. I love it.
This is the Genesis
the
version?
Genesis version.
Yeah, that's right.
The Genesis system of Star Wars.
The Genesis system, which is the one that I really like the most. Because Genesis is such a good system. Really, really good. I think that more RPG systems should be more openly collaborative.
Yep.
Openly DM player collaborative, mechanically collaborative. I think like Dungeons and Dragons does a great job of saying the DM is there to create an experience that their players, that their friends, they want to make for their friends. They're making an experience they want their friends to. That's like true.
Yeah.
And I think that D&D makes that very clear and also helps you learn that. But mechanically, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's literally
you
nothing.
have to, as a GM, you have to force that.
Exactly. You have to either invent mechanics or more accurately, you have to just utilize mechanics the game has, and then that is your, like, it's hard to explain, but just utilizing the game mechanics, like just playing the game as a DM is your way of interacting in that space.
Yep.
Whereas the Genesis system, for like the actual context for those listening who may not know the Genesis system, it gives you things like advantages and disadvantages on those rolls. It's not just based on like a numerical value. It's not beat a 17, beat this DC.
Yeah,
it's like roll this number of successes versus the number of advantages.
Yeah, I describe it as like a dual-layered fate. You've got a narrative and you've got a mechanical.
Exactly.
So you can mechanically succeed but narratively fail a check.
Yep.
And you can narratively succeed and mechanically fail a check. So
yeah.
Hey, you broke through the lock. Like an example of mechanical succession narrative failure is, congratulations, you broke through the lock, but you set off an alarm in the barracks and you don't know that yet.
Exactly, right.
Whereas like narrative success and mechanical failure is, you didn't unlock this, you didn't manage to hack through this terminal that gets you through this door into the hangar, but you did find a piece of map that'll lead you through the ventilation to the hangar. Yeah,
or like
so you add a little bit of flavor to the story.
You couldn't access the iPad, but you took the prints from it.
Yeah,
you knew there were prints on the iPad. You took those; they might be useful later,
and
that's really cool. And it's very nebulous in the core rules, like of Genesis, how a DM directly interacts with those mechanics. It's like which I think is really good. I think that's how it really wants to be. You want to teach you to use your intuition as a DM because you're going to need it more often than not. Doesn't matter the setting you're playing.
Yeah.
You're going to need to use your initiative and use your own intuition a lot. And I'm glad that the setting mechanically does that. So it's good to have that back in the store and have people available to buy it.
So yeah, if you want to get involved into Star Wars RPG, full rulebook's coming soon.
Very soon.
Go talk to your local store, or if you're in Australia,
vaultgames.com.au.
vaultgames.com.au. Check out the ad read.
Yeah, check.
This show is brought to you by Vault Games. If you're looking for your next hobby fix, jump on over to vaultgames.com.au, where you can pick up anything you need to enjoy your tabletop hobby. Be it board games, RPGs, trading cards, minis, or paints and tools, Vault Games will have it in, or they can order it in for you. With shipping Australia-wide and now 2 locations in Brisbane, they can get your order to you, or you can swing by and pick it up yourself. Use the discount code from the Vaults for 5% off your order.
This show is also brought to you by TCG Singles, powered by Vault Games. Do you have cardboard you want to turn into cash? Head on over to tcgsingles.store and enter your buy list of Magic or Pokemon cards right now to convert them into cash or even store credit to grab what you need for your next deck. Use the discount code from the Vault to get 5% off your order, or use the code LELINE to get 10% off your first order.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. It's time for
Okay.
the main topic of today's podcast. Trent, you brought this one up.
I did.
Very
I wanna talk about
interesting.
these.
It's the new Battleforce boxes.
The Warhammer
Christmas
40,000.
is coming. Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar. Games
Nice.
Workshop is getting rid of their old sprues and putting them into a piece of cardboard.
Big box and saying,
Send-
please, for the love of God, buy this product.
Please, we have not sold enough Torgaradons. Please buy
heavily-
Imperial Fists.
It's heavily discounted. Please buy these products. Please, for the love of God. So today we're going to talk about, we're going to start with the Sigmar ones, I think, today. We're going to start with the Sigmar. We'll move over to the 40.
Well, Sigmar ones are either going up for pre-order or already up for pre-order based on when this podcast goes out.
Yep.
So if you want them, get them.
Definitely jump online, yeah.
If you haven't pre-ordered them yet, good luck.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yep.
yeah. Why don't you tell them why that's a problem?
I don't know how much I can tell.
Oh,
Essentially, well, I can't tell prices
of course.
at this point because at the point of recording, it has been
NDA.
released. I'm on pre-disclosure requirements.
Can't talk about that. Sorry, guys.
But what I can do is hopefully tell you that stores in Australia and New Zealand are likely to be allocated one per location.
One of each. per
Merry
location.
Christmas!
So if you didn't get the Daughters of Cain box, you might be, if you did get the Daughters of Cain box, you might
Well
be one of
done.
very
You're not a
few.
daughter of shame. You're a daughter of Cain.
That's true.
Yep.
Because you have the box.
Have the box.
Okay. Speaking of the Daughters of Cain, let's start with them, shall we? So
Sure.
I think Producer Piper's going to have these up on the screen for you guys as well, so you guys can kind of look at these. But we'll start off here with the Daughters of Cain, what is called the Cainite Slaughter Coven. All right?
Yeah.
Cainite Slaughter Coven. You're going to get a Slaughter Queen on a Cauldron of Blood. Now, that's got like some multiple options. You can build
Yeah,
that
you can
however.
actually, if you get an extra base too, you can go to Hag Queen, a Slaughter Queen, and a Blood Sister.
Correct. I think it is, yes.
Melisay Blood Sister. So if you get like some extra bases, like a 32 mil and 40 mil base, you can put a Hag Queen on the Cauldron of Blood, or you can put the Slaughter Queen on the Cauldron of Blood.
Yeah.
And put the other one on the 32 mil base,
That's correct.
and then the Melisay can go on the 40 mil base.
I think it's I think it's only the two characters. I think the Melisay also come in the box, but I think it's just characters with that
Oh, that can only go on the base.
going on that. I think it's like the Hag Queen or the other one. Yeah, they're the
Yeah.
two characters that go on the Cauldron of Blood.
Well, yeah, the Cauldron of Blood can be built as.
That's correct. Yeah.
I
But I'm just
say
saying
go
the
on,
ones on
but
the
yeah.
bases. I don't think there's a Melisay, unfortunately, with this one.
No,
I think
it's all single kit.
that's true, but I don't think a Melisay comes in it. Melisay have the snake tails.
Yeah. There's a Medusa lady in there.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, check the
Oh.
kit lists.
There's like the Blood Rack Shrine. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the Blood Rack Shrine.
That comes with a Melisay on it.
Yeah, that's a Melisay lady on it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. I
has a
thought it
mirror
was
on the back.
Interesting.
Bit
I'll
of
just
an
have a look
Avatar
now.
cane.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's got a Blood Rack Medusa on it, right?
Yep. That's the one.
Yeah. That's not the same thing. Yeah, that's a different model that you're thinking of. Though.
Oh, okay.
That's not a. Sorry, the
It's
Melisay.
not a Melusai. Yeah.
My brain's like, no. The Blood Sisters are a 5-man unit.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting into it. So let's get to it. So we've got the centerpiece model of the kit, and we got that up on the screen. Centerpiece model. That's very, very important. You get the 5 Melisay Blood Sisters, which can be built as the Blood Stalkers. They're the important mortal wound dealing bows. That's what you want to have in your list. Very useful to have Melisay. You're going to get your 5 Kinnerai Heart Renders, can be built as Life Takers. Doesn't really matter. They're the girls with the wings. They're always really useful.
Whole job is to drop down turn 3 and hold an objective.
Exactly. They're very, very useful at dropping down on turn 3 holding an objective. They have quite a good move speed, so they're good to have around the board. I really like the idea of a kit giving you both the Melisay and the Heart Renders. Just think that's awesome. They're very, very important. And a lot of people don't get invested in them really early. I don't think so. Then it's going to have 10 Witch Elves, 5 Doomfire Warlocks. Now, this is where it kind of gets a bit weird for me for this box. I think Age of Sigmar is a game where you I don't want to say you want to skew build in Age of Sigmar because it's not the only way to play, but you want to focus on like a type of play. And most books in Age of Sigmar tend to go like, oh, you can build this kind of unit and go fully into that design, or you could build this other kind of unit and go fully into that design. So for the Cainite, especially for the Daughters of Cain, the Doomfire Warlocks and the Witch Elves kind of side of the army tends to kind of commit to it, and then the Melisay side of the army tends to.
Yes.
Now the Kinnerai are great because they go into anything.
Yes.
That, like again, you can't
They're just the
go
drop down
wrong.
hold objective.
Drop down hold objectives. They're great. You cannot go wrong with that. And honestly, in the massive centerpiece model, that Blood Throne is also amazing. You kind of want that in most lists. I often see people bring 2 of them, but sometimes one is still really
And you can
good.
build, if you're building your army towards the Melisay side, you can change the Blood Rack.
You're making it that Blood Rack Shrine.
It
which
has
is really...
it has like variability. The kit itself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're gonna have there's like a theme of that as well as we go through these boxes, where the kind of centerpiece, or at least like some important point of the sculpt, some important point of the box is has lots of options. Is very malleable. That's the K-Knight Slaughter Coven. Do we have any pricing on that at the moment? No, right?
I do have a price for it.
You do?
Look, I can't tell you the prices and the values you get out of it exactly, but I can tell you, based on my calculation, the recommended retail price we've been given, that you're looking at saving between about 115 to 200, the range.
Yep, and that's important.
It could be any one of those. I'm not going to which ones, but there is a substantial saving in buying the kits on their own.
Absolutely.
Particularly given that nothing in these battle boxes equal a Vanguard or a Start Collecting.
Exactly. There's no overlap in that respect. At least in the Age of Sigmar stuff, there's no overlap, which is very, very important and really helpful. So then we'll move. Oh, before we move into that, I've also actually gotten their points together. So this is as of GHB 2022 to 2023, November of 2022. So that's just time-stamping these points. But the Daughters of Cain box is currently coming with 1,100 points strapped into it.
That's not bad.
1,100 points, which is really good, I think.
Yeah.
Really, really good. 1,100 points. Games of Age of Sigmar are played in brackets, just like 40k. You play 500-point games very rarely. 1,000-point games is a great starter size. You'll play 1,000-point games for quite a while, and you'll move into 2,000 points where you'll kind of stabilize.
Yeah, look, even 2 boxes of this, and you're pretty set for a whole army.
You're very set for a whole army. I think there is a point to be made about these boxes that they're not intrinsically designed, I think, that you buy multiples. And I think that kind of comes into this allocation problem we're having, where it feels like they're designed that you buy one of them and they give you a good like anchor point to actually buy like totally unrelated, and without any insult here, full price models.
Yeah, which is kind of unfortunate because a lot of these boxes, as it's half of army.
Yeah, exactly. Half of an army.
It's kind of the same deal with the Vanguard and Star Collecting. Well, it's the same deal with the old Star Collecting sets had this problem. Where they kind of felt like the Ideneth Deepkin one, for example, back in 2nd edition, you either wanted to go all
Namadi.
You want to go all Namadi or you want to go all Akelian. Star Collecting set was one Namadi, one.
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
Pro.
And you're like, well, this is great if I just want like a cherry, like just a random group of guys.
Yeah.
Like, if I want to focus and play this more like competitively in any way, it's very difficult. No, I totally agree. So on to the next guys. The Auric War Clans is the Cruel Boys Swamp Lurkers. These
which are not up.
Not up for pre-order this week.
Yeah, you'll find there's a substantial portion of these that aren't going up for pre-order in Australia and New Zealand because not all of them made it into the country. I mean, you could argue that not a lot really made it into the country to begin with, but
yeah. But here we are. So as far as accessing this product is concerned in Australia, it's going to be kind of tough. But for now, we're just going to be hopefully focusing on just kind of what they can offer you, these products. And if you do get your hands on, that's really good, and we're happy to see it. And if you're listening to this from overseas or something, just talk to your LGS, or even if you're just like far away from Brisbane, talk to your LGS.
You'll have more availability.
They'll have more availability, that kind of stuff. So definitely get involved to get access to these products. So speaking of these products, we've got the Auric War Clans Cruel Boys Swamp Lurkers. I love the names. The names are cool. Somebody's getting paid for that. So this is you're going to get a Swamp Boss Scumdrek and a Gobsprak the Mouth of Mork. They're 2 named characters for the Cruel Boys, but both of those kits can be built as unnamed characters. What's important though is that the Swamp Boss Scumdrek can be built as the same unit, except not named. So it's a little bit worse than his and doesn't have his unique ability, but it can get relics and stuff like that. So it's very useful. Get artifacts of power. It can get
a pretty good guy.
A mount trait, all that good stuff. Really good unit. But Gobsprak can't be built as a wizard outside of Gobsprak himself. The other option is a killer boss on Corpse Ripper Vulture, which is just a killer boss, which allows them to ignore Battle Shock. They don't need to worry about Battle Shock too much. I think it's like if they fail Battle Shock, they only lose a single model as opposed to whatever's on the dice. That's pretty good. But again, it's a big killing, big wide base, not very tanky, not very defensive kind of unit that if you're in that play space, you're probably going towards Iron Jaws. If you want to play Auric War Clans and go towards big monsters that just run into you and kill, that's the best place to go.
You're better off playing a mega.
Exactly. A more crotch is better. You can go towards Killer Boss on Great Nash too because of their 10-inch move and their 10 wounds and their 3-up save.
Yep.
Very valid unit. I think they're awesome. And I really don't dislike the fact that it does come with the Swamp Boss Scumdrek, who is that awesome. That's just a freaking awesome unit. It's very, very, very important with that Sludge Raker Beast.
The poison stuff.
Yeah, so he ups all their mortal wounds from converting their damage to mortals. He does it converting mortals +1. So now, the 2 damage weapons become the mortals 3. It happens on all of his weapons. He's very, very powerful, right? And Scumdrek offers you that too, which is really good. So Scumdrek you don't lose anything. More importantly, it comes with 2 squads of Gut Rippers and then
I think there's only one squad of Gut Rippers.
oh, only one. That's right.
Yeah, it's
One
only
10-man squad of Gut Rippers and one 3-man squad of Bolt Boys, which is really interesting. When you look at the Canites, you get a 5-man squad, a 10-man squad, a 5-man squad, a 5-man squad, and a big thing. In this, you're going to get a big thing, a smaller thing, 1 10, 1 3.
Well,
Tiny
one
amount
thing
of
to note
models.
too, though, is the recommended retail price of all those individual Daughters of Cain come up to about $380.
Yep.
The Cruel Boys is $481
For those models
for
alone.
those models alone. Yeah,
Isn't
if you
that
wanna buy them all
crazy?
individually.
Now, I want to tell you something else here, is that this box is worth 830 points. Now, I also want to add something here, which is that Cruel Boys recently saw a swathe of buffs come through in the most recent battle scroll, which gave them a bunch of points changes, which made them a lot cheaper to bring. So that's a reflection of that first and foremost. Gut Rippers are no longer 180 for 10, they're 160 for 10. Doesn't mean too much to non-Warhammer players, but that changes a lot. It's not like 40k where you change up a couple of things of war gear and fix your list. It's like an entire unit is now out of your list and you need to pick a different unit that can fill out your list better. Sigmar gets really heavily impacted by that kind of stuff. So seeing this only be 830 points makes me somewhat think that it was designed before the battle scroll was designed.
Yeah.
But
100%.
that's what I'm pretty certain on that. But I still think that that's a fine enough price point. A fine enough points level to like kind of start the game with. But I must also add that even if you were to buy another 10-man squad of Gut Rippers, you'd be at 990 points.
Yeah.
Which means you're still not hitting 1,000 with a whole nother box of Gut Rippers, and that's...
Hey, you get a Triumph.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think Cruel Boys not doing so well at the moment. I don't think Cruel... Like, as an army, great. They're awesome. Great fun. I play lots of Cruel Boys. I have lots of models. I really recommend investing in them. They're cool. This box, tough to justify.
Yeah.
Are the models just heinously expensive to buy, apparently, immediately in general? Yeah. So you might want to buy this box just so you can actually afford Cruel Boys, apparently. But far out, that's insane.
They're not the most expensive box.
They're not. No, we're going to get... We'll get to that one. We'll get to the most expensive box, yeah. Yeah, we'll get to the most expensive
They're
box.
funny ones, too.
Yeah, exactly. So, next, we have the Stampeding Squiggleanch. Spoiler alert. On the Gloomspite Gets. Spoiler alert, this one's a massive win for me.
Yeah.
This one is huge win for me. I love this box. I think anyone who wants to play Gloomspite Gets should get invested in this box.
It's definitely in that space, too, of, you know how we were talking about the Daughters of Cain, half and half.
Yep.
This feels like a box.
This is the perfect example of Gloomspite Gets have 3 sub-factions, where it's the Grots, well, 4. The Grots, the Spider Riders, the Squigs, and the Troggos. They're kind of the 4 sub-factions of Gits. So it would be very easy for them, and they've done this on repeat, to put 3 Rock Guts into this box.
Yeah.
Very easy for them to put...
Done the last 2 times.
And the last 2 times, it'd be easy for them to put a dank old Trog boss in this, but they decided against it, and they said, no, we're going to do full Squigs. It's 2 Mangler Squigs, a Loon Boss on Giant K-Squig, 10 in a Squig Herd, and then 10 Boingrot Bounders, which can be built as Squig Hoppers. That's really cool. Squig Hoppers, a battle line. Very cool. You got 2 battle line choices here. Minimum. That's really good. Mangler Squigs can be built as Loon Bosses on Mangler Squig, which means you're going to have a Mangler Squig and a hero character next to it, which I think is awesome. That's really what you want. That's that perfect example of like modularity of what can I build out of this kit. That's awesome. This box is amazing. If you buy 2 of this box, you're going to have 3 Mangler Squigs, which is rule of 3, a Loon Boss on Mangler Squig. You might go for 2 of those. Who knows? And then you're going to have, 20 Squig Herd and then 20 Boingrot Bounders and 2 Loon Bosses. It's just amazing. I think like just 2 of these boxes would be perfect for getting kicked off for a Squig list. I think that's... I don't have much else to say about this. It is 980 points. So it is just under your points threshold of 1,000, which is where you want to be, I think. It's where you want to be when you're buying a big box of product. You want to be at that passing over the threshold, not right behind it. But 990 points really isn't the end of the world. Like, as in, if your friends are going to play with you and you're going to, like, practice some games, I think 10 points diff is not that big a deal, especially in Age of Sigmar, where you're going to benefit from what's called a triumph by having less points than your opponent. So I think 990 is arguably really good in Age of Sigmar.
Probably like the sweet spot.
It's probably the sweet spot, probably like Goldilocks zone. So I think
sweet spot for a box.
Yep, so everything about this box is great. I'm down for it.
Yeah.
I think this box is awesome. I love it.
And recommended retail for all of that comes to about $501.
Yeah, so even more still than the Cruel Boys.
Yeah.
So great looking box. Again, we don't know the price of the actual box itself, but great looking box, really cool stuff. Yeah. All right, we got Skaven, the verminous host. This box is really interesting. This box comes with 40 clan rats.
It's 2 boxes of clan rats.
2 boxes of clan rats. 40 plague monks.
2 boxes of plague monks.
It comes with a plague priest on plague furnace, which is the Grey Seer on Screaming Bell. That's the base same model. Yep. And then it comes with 3 of your big storm fiends.
And a Warplock Bombardier.
Oh, a little Warplock Bombardier. Forgot the little guy. A little Warplock Bombardier. Sorry, there's a little character. Hmm.
I don't know. You got 3 clans in there.
You got 3 clans in there, and Skaven are a great example of a faction that goes in very different directions.
Yes. Clan Pestilence is almost pointless if you're not running Clan Pestilence.
I think so. I think that's right. Skaven have a very interesting and they're very all over the place. Skaven.
Yeah,
their
look,
design space.
Clan Rats can go anywhere. That's
They can go anywhere.
Clan
Yeah.
Verminous, so that's your Clan Rats, your Storm Fiends,
Yep.
your Claw Lords. They're really like versatile. They're meant to be like your fodder for your army, right?
Yep.
So they're really good to have. They can go in any faction.
That's correct.
But when you throw in 20 Plague Monks and you build that as a Plague Furnace, because realistically,
that's true.
On the battlefield anyway. Otherwise, you're invalidating your 20 Plague Monks.
Exactly, right. It's very hard.
Yeah. The Plague Monks, like, negative effects affect everything that isn't Clan Pestilence. So that includes detriment to your own guys.
Yep.
And then throw in 3 Storm Fiends from Clan Skyra and a Warlock Bombardier from Clan Skyra, and you kind of have this massive of a Skaven army that isn't really gonna work.
It's like soup in the worst way. It's like soup in the worst way. It's like soup in the like data sheet way. Like I'm just playing with my war scrolls say. It's not super useful.
It's perpetual tavern soup.
It's also 80 crappy old clan, like essentially crappy old rats. Like I love Skaven. I love the idea of the big like wave of rats. I think that's a really cool concept. I like rat people. I think it's cool. I love Warpstone. But I feel that their sculpts are so ancient and they're so neglected that I feel that you're gonna open, like if you're getting into Warhammer and you open this box and you have to build like clan rats and you have to build Storm Fiends in the same box, you have like one of the coolest sculpts of all time. Like Storm Fiends are top of the list of like best sculpts in Sigmar.
Yeah.
And then you got clan rats.
They should have committed to either Verminous or Skyra, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like they should
give me 2 lots of Storm Fiends.
Yep.
Give me a Warlock Bombardier.
And then 2 Warp Fire Cannons.
2 Warp Fire Cannons.
Yeah, that's all I will. That's all.
That's it. That's
you know
all
what?
you need.
Forget anything else. I mean, you could put one of those like, like there's like an elite infantry unit they have. I always forget the name of the rat elite infantry. They look like knights. They look like knights with the, like halberds.
Oh, they're the Storm Fiends. They're from Clan Verminous.
They're from Clan Vermin. Okay, so the Storm Fiends.
Storm Fiends. Sorry.
No, hang on. Storm Vermin.
Storm Vermin. Yeah,
that's what it is. Storm Vermin. So that's what you were talking about before. So Storm Vermin. So yeah, you were saying Storm Fiends and Clan Vermin before. I was like, that makes sense. Storm Vermin. Yeah. Sorry, you could like if you had a box, like put us a box of Storm Vermin, 2 times 3 Storm Fiends, 2 warp the warp cannons. Then.
Or even commit to Clan Verminous. Like,
all that, that's also great.
You know what?
Too.
Replace those 20 Plague Monks with 20 Clan Rats.
Yep.
Get rid of the Storm Fiends and add in 20 Storm Vermin. That's 2 squads of Storm Vermin.
Yep.
And then give me a Claw Lord and the Screaming.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, where's the Vermin Lord?
Yeah,
like, that's the thing that I've always felt like should always come in a Skaven list.
Yeah,
should always come in a Skaven
that's the thing.
army box.
If you run Clan Verminous, you need a Claw Lord to actually like do anything with it.
And I feel like it's also one of the better sculpts they have. And like we talked about this when we first started with this. There is a layer where it's like we don't want to put negativity on this. These boxes are cool. We really like these boxes more often than not. And there's a bit of negative sting to like, oh, they put all the kits they couldn't sell in these boxes, and they're forcing people to buy them. Like it's not negative anything like that. And we don't want to imply that it's like, oh, this is just an afterthought. But I feel like the possibility of the Vermin Lord not being in here makes me think that the Vermin Lord just sells really well.
Yeah,
don't worry about that. It's not going to be beneficial to put that in there. So that does sound a little bit like a bit bad, but I feel like it's not so bad. I feel like this box is boring. Is the word I would use. Yeah, this box is boring to play and it's boring to build, and it's got 80 guys in it, and I just don't understand that. I've never understood that. Like
it is also one of the cheapest. Like it's the second cheapest in
Yeah, see, look at that.
After the Daughters of Cain. So that one's 480. And admittedly, most of that is Storm Fiend.
Yeah.
Screaming Bell / Plague Furnace.
The big stuff. Yeah, you're not paying lots for the little guys. Well, let's move on. We've talked about the Skaven enough. We're going to quickly talk about the Nighthaunt Legion of Grief. Legion of Grief is cool.
Are not up for pre-order.
Not up for pre-order. But they are really cool. Legion of Grief is a callback to the White Dwarf little publication they got, where they got like a whole unique legion that was like unique to them during like Legions of Nagash, or the Legion of Grief, where you could play Lady Olinda and stuff like that during like a weird time. So it's cool as a reference there. Now, this is a really interesting one, actually. I want to stop on this for a second. This box sucks. And this is why. It comes with the 10 Grimghast. That's amazing. Grimghast are a great infantry unit that nobody invests in Nighthaunt because everyone says buy Chain Rasps. And everyone buys like in 60 to 80 chain rafts, and no one has room for Grimghast, but Grimghast is so much better. I really recommend Grimghast. Black Coach, amazing model, high quality to paint, high quality to build, high quality to run on the battlefield. Just everything about it's great. Lady Olinda, the buffs in the new Nighthawk book made her gorgeous. She's a great model to paint, great model to play with. She's a bit tingly. I think she doesn't have great where she kind of connects to the ground is like a very terrible connection point. She'll fall apart on it like all the time. So
Definitely pin her.
Definitely pin her. I see a lot of people kind of gluing her up against like a kind of a Victorian looking kind of fence or like a gate or something.
Getting like some of the graveyard kit.
Yeah, kind of the graveyard kit. Just to kind of give her something like really solid and big to kind of connect to and sit on. But she's a great model. And then lastly, you kind of go in a weird direction where you hit 10 Bladegeist Revenants and 10 Dread Scythe Harridans. Now, this would have made a lot of sense to me in 2nd edition Age of Sigmar, because those units were just units. They didn't have anything special about them. They didn't have the elite keyword didn't exist. There was nothing unique about them. The Dreadblade Harrows and the Dread Scythe Harridans and the Grimghast Dread Scythe Harridans and the Bladegeist Revenants were basically the same unit. They basically both jumped down, charged you, dealt tons of damage with a bit of rend. The Bladegeist Revenants were better at it, but more expensive. And the Dread Scythe Harridans could kind of, because they were just cheaper, you just had more of them, and they mess with Battle Shock. I mean, and just like really powerful stuff. I mean, like they also had like a negative one to be hit, I'm pretty certain. So they kind of like played around with your opponent's like stats. It's made your opponent think a little bit more, I guess. The Bladegeist Revenants didn't make your opponent think. They churned through your opponent's units and they killed them. And they're still good at that. But I quickly actually have the Nighthaunt open here, the Processions of the Nighthaunt open, because I play the Emerald Host. I play Nighthaunt, and I play the Emerald Host in the new book. But in the new book, there are 2 different sub-factions here. One is called the Scarlet Doom, and one is called the Quicksilver Dead. So the Scarlet Doom, when you pick a sub-faction, you get 1 generic ability in your army, right? And the Scarlet Doom's generic ability gives the ability that Bladegeist Revenants on the charge deal mortal wounds. They roll a dice for every model in my unit. On a 5-up, I deal a mortal wound to you. It could be a lot of wounds, Bladegeist Revenants. It also makes Bladegeist Revenants battle line. That's really, really important to my point. The Quicksilver Dead, which is exclusive to the Scarlet Doom, as in you can't bring them both, you can only bring one of these, is ward rolls cannot be made for wounds caused by attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Dread Scythe Harridan units. You right? You see where this is going?
Yeah, it's half and half.
So again, we've got a faction that comes out with a box and it says, you know, you can go towards the Scarlet Doom or the Quicksilver Dead because we've given you both of these units. We've given you Olinda and Grimghast and the Black Coach, so it's probably just better to go for the Emerald Host anyway. But we've given you these like battle lines you can go towards this. But if you try to invest in this box multiple times, this is what I mean. This is dissuading you from doing it. You're gonna have multiple Lady Olindas, which are not. They cannot come out as generic characters. They are always a unique named character, so you can never bring 2 Lady Olinda. You're gonna have way too many of these units that are not going to be battle line, one side or the other. So it just feels again like we kind of just missed a little bit on this box. But I think if you're the kind of person who just wants to get started with ghosties, or if it's like a Christmas present, and these are Christmas boxes, that's really important. I don't think anyone's going to turn their nose up at this. The Black Coach and Lady Olinda are amazing. The Grimghast are amazing. And while we did miss on the 2, you know, I want to say pseudo battle line units, because like, well, hang on, let me check something. This is really important. What's the points of this faction? It's very important, yeah. So this is ironic, right? Your only battle line unit that's intrinsically battle line is the Grimghast Reapers. Squads of 10, right? And this box is 1,170 points. Oh, sorry. The Skaven box was 1,420 points, by the way. 1,420 points. You are coming up to a 1,500 point game with the Skaven. And you have 80 models to paint. Like, what a mess. Anyway, and that sounds really good.
You wouldn't field about 400 of it at a time.
Right, exactly. This box is still like just pushing over 1,100 points, right? Which means that it's pushing over 1,000 points, which means minimum 2 battle line. Now means that if I were to play this box
you have to choose
out of the box, I have to choose one of those 2 factions. My other 10 guys are not benefiting from those faction abilities. See what's happening? What the hell, guys? So this box is cool. It's great value. 1,170 points is a great amount of points. It's
so 511 value.
Yeah, which is really good. Massively expensive models, so that's really, really, really valid. That's good. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I think that box is cool. But you know, that battle line thing is always gonna be an issue. Speaking of battle line issues, we come up against the Sylvaneth. This is the Revenant Wargrove. And this box
slaps.
This box slaps.
Yeah.
This box slaps super hard. I think when you first look at it, you go,
This is the start collecting box, by the
It
way.
is,
I think
right.
out of every Age of Sigmar box, if you're
This is
getting
it.
into the game, you get this box.
this is a great box. And I think when you first look at it, it doesn't read that way, but it really is. And the reason is because it gives you Drycha Hammerdreth, who is a named character, but she is absolutely awesome. I really recommend her in your list. She's an amazing model to paint and to play. 2 Tree Lords, which can be built as Tree Lords.
Not 1, 2. So
Not
that's
1, 2. And that's
Tree Lords, Tree Lord Ancients.
correct. That's Tree Lord Ancient, or Spirit of Durthu as well. So 3 different unit options that do very different things that are all very, very like valid to your game plan. When you first buy this box, I promise you, you should and you will build it as a Durthu and a Tree Lord Ancient. And the second box that you purchase, you'll either go 2 Tree Lords or a Durthu and a Tree. And go for 2 Durthus because they're very, very aggressive.
And they're also not named.
And they're also it's a single spirit of Durthu. Yeah, it's not Durthu himself, so yeah, not named. Very good. So I think that's amazing. That's straight up amazing. It comes with 2 boxes of 5, or sorry, 1 box of 10. I mean to say like Spite Revenants, but I think they come in boxes.
They come in
of 5.
boxes of 5.
So it's 2 boxes of 5 Spite Revenants, and then a big box of 16 Dryads.
Yep.
Weird number, but that's because Dryads are old, and they come in boxes of 16. They come in squads of 10. They're just old boxes. So 2 of those could be 32. Sorry, what's up, Piper?
I will say that I'm upset there's no Awakened Wildwood.
Yeah.
And that's what I was actually, you pulled that
Yeah.
straight out of my brain.
Could have added a terrain to that.
What makes me so angry is that there's no Awakened Wildwood in here, which is why it would be such a perfect start collecting box. But I also understand why they don't make people to pay for 3 trees in this context. I think it'd be very bad PR if they put 3 trees in this box. But I feel like they should.
What do you
just
mean?
put,
They did.
Yeah, they put a bunch of trees in here.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, they could have put a bunch more. I think there's a bit more work. But here's the important point. 16 Dryads is a squad of 10 and a squad of 6. You can't do anything with a squad of 6, so you have a squad of 10 for battle line. The Sylvaneth box is... It is... I have it as Dilvaneth. Anyway, 1285 is how many points you're going to get. Which is a good number. It's a great number, but it does mean you need 2 battle line. Spite Revenants aren't intrinsically battle line.
You have to take a grove.
You have to take a grove. But more importantly, and they don't really announce this it's just in the little box right here, which can be alternative you built as Tree Revenants. And Tree Revenants are battle line. And not just are battle line. Are some of the best battle line in the whole game.
Yeah.
To the point where competitive Lumineth lists and Stormcast lists are bringing 2 of them as allies. Because they're just that valid in the core rules of the game. They're not powerful in the sense they don't kill things, but they just score you objectives, which is very important in this game. So I think this is going to teach you some good gameplay logic. It's got good models in it. It's got a good points threshold. What was the what's the price on everything?
It's actually the most expensive retail of an Sigmar box at $525.
$525. There you go.
So it's definitely worth it.
Definitely worth it. So this is probably the best box.
From what the price I know, worth it.
It's worth it. So this is one of the best boxes we've seen so far. It's still hard to compete with the Squigglelanch. I think that's such a good box, but that's. I
think you could buy 2 Sylvaneth. Well, I mean, like, I think you could buy 1 Sylvaneth, drop Drycha, and you have a pretty solid starting army.
Yeah. I do think unfortunately Drycha is quite a sink. I think she's around the 280, 300. So I think she's going to be knocking you down to around 900, 8 something point.
Which was like 14. Oh no, it's
no,
like
no,
1200.
that's the
Yeah,
Sylvaneth.
sorry.
So that's the Skaven.
Yeah. So if you
1285. Sorry, so no, it's about 1,000. My apologies.
So if you
1285.
drop Drycha, you have actually a
pretty decent list.
pretty decent starting list.
Yeah, definitely.
To run Spirit of Durthu or HQ as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're good, and the Tree Lord Ancients HQ as well. You are set for life with this list.
So
it's good.
That's a great starting box.
Yep, that's a great starting box. And finally, we'll then end the Sigmar reveals now on the Thunderstrike Spearhead. This is the Stormcast Eternals box.
Classic Stormcast.
That classic Stormcast, but the opposite of classic.
Yeah, it's all new.
It's all new. So
all 3rd edition.
All 3rd edition, all Thunderstrike. So this box comes with a Knight Relictor, which we're going to come back to. Don't even ask. We have 3 heavily armored Annihilators, which are a classic of the genre now. 10 Vanquishers, 10 Vigilors, and a pair of Swift and Deadly Storm Drake Guards, as they call it on Warhammer Community. Now, this is a good box. I like Vigilors. I think they're really cool models to paint. I think hobby-wise, they're a win for me. They're the best Stormcast models in the range as far as battle line is concerned, easily. As far as like hobby is concerned, they got flowing capes, they got bows, they got swords. Mechanically, they do most of everything pretty well, between having pretty good Ren 1 melee and pretty good Ren 1 shooting. It's fine. And they also offer +1s to hit if they hit things, because they're like scouts. Annihilators, especially with those hammers or even with the shields, 2 up saves with the shields, 3 flat damage with the hammers. Amazing models. And they deal a ton of models on the impact when they come down, and then on the charge they deal more models. So I think the shields often turn out to be better because you don't need the hammers because you're already doing so much damage.
Yeah.
But if you really need that in this format, and it can come up. You want 4 damage into Gallet veteran like Trogoths or something. Who knows? You might want that damage. It could show up pretty well. Annihilators are great models. Thunderstrike stuff is usually really good. Vanquishers don't really have a place in the Stormcast army. I think they're good models. I think you should bring them. They're fine. I think they're good in this box. I think it's cool, but they definitely represent the model that's like, I don't know if Vanquishers are selling super well as far as Games Workshop is concerned, just because they're a weird spot in the army. I'm pretty sure they do have the battle line keyword, but at the same time, they're just 2-handed sword guys with a pretty weak save.
Are Vanquishers the sword guys, or are they the polearm guys?
They have the 2-handed great swords, the Vanquishers.
Oh, okay.
So the Vindictors have the polearms, and the
thinking of.
Vindictors are like no question guys. If you have Vindictors, play them.
They were Galatian veterans before Galatian veterans were the season.
Yeah, exactly. They're really, really good. I love Vindictors, no argument there. I love Vanquishers, but it's just like a really aggressive unit in an army that doesn't need the aggression. But they need
not with
that
Annihilators.
Not with Annihilators, and not with Stormdrake Guard, which we can get you next. Stormdrake Guard are an interesting situation. You cannot bring 2 of them in this list as like a Stormdrake Guard battle line, because you do not have a Stormdrake Guard leader. You don't have a hero unit. Stormdrake Guard can only be brought as battle line if you have a leader unit. And with this army being 1390 points, so nearly 1400 points, it's good to have lots of battle line. Now, in this situation, I'm pretty sure Vanquishers and Vigils both being battle line are fine. Not an issue there. You're going to be able to play this list straight out of the box. But at the same time, not having access to those battle line dragons are a little bit weird. It's very expensive to bring a dragon by himself. I think it works out to be like an extra, like, I say very expensive things, like a 5 or 10 point tax to bring a Stormdrake Guard as a single unit next to a leader, and you can only do it if you bring the leader. The Stormdrake Guard here, even though it's not very obvious, one will be your HQ, and the other one will be like a generic dragon that flies around doing things.
One will be was it Night Draconis?
Yeah, Night Draconis is the big leader guy. Then and they got another name for the non-battle line version of the Stormdrake Guard. But yeah, it's a bit messy. I actually did bring up, speaking of messy, the Knight Relictor. Like, have you ever heard of a Knight Relictor?
I have heard of them. They're the guys that have like the dead body.
Yeah, like who knows, right? So
I think they're a little bit older.
Well, actually, they're a Thunderstrike unit too. Knight Relictors. I thought they were older too, but they're a Thunderstrike unit, right? And listen to this, right? This is why, trust me, listen to this. Knight Relictors are fearsome warrior clerics. As they spearhead the Stormcast advance, they burn the bones of saints and martyrs in holy censers, producing clouds of billowing incense that disrupt those who would call upon the powers of dark deities.
The Emperor.
For the Emperor. These guys are like the perfumers from Elden Ring in the capital. That's essentially what they are. They're perfumers. But more importantly, what does this unit do? This unit has 1 melee profile. It's 120 points for a single leader model. It can be put in a bunch of War Scroll battalions that nobody can ever use. And it has 1 ability called Relic Sensor. So let's get this straight, right? Just very quickly, chat. This guy's a little guy. He comes with a little base, 40 mil base. He has 6 wounds with a 5-inch move because he's pretty slow and a 3-up save. It's kind of defensive, right? His weapon is 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2. If you played Age of Sigmar,
pretty standard.
That's pretty standard Stormcast, especially on a leader unit. Damage 2 is cute. Rend 1 is boring, but it's fine. He's not a combat character, right? We can agree with only 3 attacks and only 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2. He's not a combat character. So let's find out what he offers you as utility. Relic Sensor. The sensors of the The sensors of the Relifier Temple emanate purifying incense that can bum, I assume that means burn, but bum through the very fabric of heretical falsehoods and mystical hexes. Each time a friendly Stormcast Eternals unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit is affected by a prayer or the abilities of an invocation, you can roll a dice. On a 4-up, ignore the effect of the prayer or the effects invocation on this unit.
The only unit in the game that can do that?
I think it's the only unit in the game that can do that. Or at least, like, it's one of the very few. Maybe the 1 or 2. Do you know why it's one of the only units that can do that in the game? Because that is the most fundamentally useless, trash, garbage ability I have read on a Stormcaster. This is a fallacy that you would print this. You would waste paper in my book by printing this model. Then you would force me to buy it as the intrinsic HQ choice of this box. This model is a joke, Games Workshop. This model is disgraceful. Like, I don't know who was in charge. Was it the end of somebody's shift and they're like, just bang out that last character, I swear to God. Because this is a joke. Like, I have never in my life, I played hundreds. I'm not exaggerating, chat. I played hundreds of games of Age of Sigmar, easily over 100 games of 3rd edition. I have been burning out 3rd edition. I love the format. And I've been affected by prayers a couple of times. I've been affected by an invocation once. And never in my life have I thought to myself, man, I really wish I had a 12-inch bubble of a 50-50 chance to ignore it.
The crazy
Or
thing,
120 points, sorry. 120 points. That is over a 20th on my list.
the crazy thing is I can think of the only time I would see a use for this would be going up against the Daughters of Cain army, which have prayers that really like bum your morale. But you're playing Stormcast.
A, you're playing
Don't
Stormcast.
care really much.
B, they'll just turn on all their self-buff spells, by the way, because
Yeah.
half of their prayers and invocations are on buffing themselves. Like, I've versed Jenna a few times, and I've seen them turn their witch elves into, like, a heinous threat with 3 prayers, and I'm like, wow, I couldn't 4-up any of those. I guess I die in combat now. Like, I just feel like...
The only time I've had problems with prayers is when I was playing Skaven.
Yeah.
Someone just...
And even
like,
when
that's it.
and even when that happened, right? Did you really wish to yourself that you had this 4-up, like 50-50? This like,
Look, I'll be honest. If I was with my clan, I could ignore the detriment. Yeah, probably.
okay, the detriment to your morale, I guess. Yeah, look, if you had
that's it. That's
if
the
you had a
only
50-50
time.
go back to top morale, like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
Yeah,
you know
my top morale being like a 5.
Yeah,
but
you know what I'm saying though. This
yeah.
I had to stop here because I genuinely like went okay. I looked at the model and then went to Waha and I went looking for the rules without looking at the name of the model and I couldn't find it. I couldn't work out what it was through text by reading the synopsis of 15 different Stormcast characters. Because by the way,
Shame the model's pretty bad.
the model is badass.
Yeah.
The model is badass. And here's the problem as well. Stormcast on an army that there's 2 problems with Stormcast have, right? Is that they have lots of options. They're like the Space Marines. They have lots and lots of options as the first issue, which you wouldn't think would be an issue, but trust me, it can be. The second thing is that all those options are quite expensive. They're all up the 100 points up margin on the heroes minimum. Anywhere from 120 to 175 is what you're expecting. Bigger characters are 220 to 280. Squads are around the 175 to 220 margin. The army is expensive points-wise. You don't have 120 points lying around to maybe like skew build against your partner. You know what I mean? Because that's another layer as well.
That's a really pod specific. Like
it's like, oh wow, I keep losing to my girlfriend because she's playing a new prayer army. Oh, my mate's fire slayers are really doing well against me. I'm gonna bring this freaking like right, you know, like, and then it just feels rough. And then it's like your friend's like, oh, okay, so you brought this specific thing to counter me, and then you're like, yeah, and they're like, I bring my other army, and you're like,
It's like putting Grafdigger's Cage into your commander purely just because you got someone in your friendship group that plays like Golgari Reanimate.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly.
I would never do this, but you know, Kevin's playing Merrin of Clan Neltoth again.
Yeah, and we don't want to straight up just shade that. I'm sure there's some context. Everything is case by case. But I think like there's some context where you skew building into your friend's Daughters of Cain makes sense, ? But more often than not, yeah, like I feel like that's not the case. I feel like this model is bad. It is terrible. And it makes the box worse. Like, it doesn't make sense. It makes the box worse because like you have a model that the game is like almost telling you to invest into and buy, and then you do that, and then you put that in your list to fill out your points because
you need another HQ.
You need another HQ, so you gotta fill out your points. It's like hang on, there is one thing. I will double check its keywords. I don't know if it has, because it itself is a priest, which is the only relevant part about it. So it itself can benefit from the Stormcast priest abilities, but it's also not a unique thing, being a Stormcast priest. There's lots of those.
It's like someone in the getting rare armies a week because they don't want to change that.
Right?
I'm gonna have to fix this.
You know what? That's
next edition. This is going down.
Yeah. Everyone's like, it's like Jim who plays Stormcast still in 2nd edition. Like, oh yeah, you and your C tier army, John, over there with your Stormcast. Yeah, sorry, mate. Sorry, you can't be as cool as the rest of us.
John just crying in the corner. It's like, I'll show them, and starts making up the Knight Relictor profile.
Like Dominion, and he's like, oh, show them. I'll make my own Stormcast with brand new models and none of the old ones.
So this one's box comes to $515 worth of models, by the way. So that's the second highest out of the Age of Sigmar.
Yep, and I want to mention that as far as it, I also tallied them, like I also put them from most points for value for money to like least points. Skaven obviously had the first place at 1420.
Yeah.
Stormcast was right behind them. Sylvaneth was in 3rd place, and then I'll go right down to the bottom where we have at the very, very bottom that Cruel Boys for only 830. And again, I think that's a reflection of the points being buffed recently, like the points being knocked down. I think that's a reflection of that more than anything else. But it is unfortunate that if you are a person who wants to get into Cruel Boys and has been an army you've been looking at for a while, a bit of a Lord of the Rings fix going into your Warhammer game. I think that you did get kind of the shit end of the stick on this one, unfortunately. There's nothing else you can do about it.
Look, in all honesty, they make great presents. If you already have an army that's going in this direction, or you want to like break into another army, how your army runs, you don't have these models in your collection, then they're great. But I don't know if I would buy these over a Vanguard or start collecting.
That's right. Actually, you know what? I think that you've landed on a really important point that I really like. Actually, I will add. I think that we look at the perspective usually of like, I have no models in this army, and I want to start a new army, so I'm going to buy a Christmas Battlebox, and that's going to start me off with this brand new army. We don't, like you mentioned there, you just touched on like, if I've already got a force to build. I think that if you're the kind of person who bought the Dominion box, and split it with a friend, and you took the Cruel Boys, I think there's a really valid angle now reassessing it to buy this Christmas box, because you don't have those two expensive and important characters. And then you already have Bolt Boys and Gut Rippers, so more of those is just good. You want 6 Bolt Boys to go with that new Sludge Wrecker Beast. You want 20 Gut Rippers because, Battle Line, 2 wounds. You just need those models because you don't have tons of options Battle Line. You're a brand new army, essentially, in the scope of the game. Yeah, maybe, you know what? I'll say that's valid. I'll say the valid part about the Cruel Boys, and it doesn't fix any issues I have with it. I still think my gripes are relevant, or like valid. But yeah, that's valid. It's like, at least at the benefit of nothing, you get an upgrade to the Dominion box, and a very valid upgrade. Probably, actually, you know what? Probably one of the better ways to upgrade the Dominion, I would argue. One of the best ways to do it. All right.
Let's get on to 40K.
Let's get on to 40K. So I've got 40K open as well. Now, I didn't get the points together for 40K, and I spoke about this before. I started looking at the points for them, but it felt really disingenuous because, spoiler alert, the Knight box, it's probably a little bit hard to put the points down for, because the main one is multiple Knights. While the Imperial Fists were easy to put a number on, it was also looking at like the Death Guard and the Admech that were kind of harder to put numbers on. It was like, oh, these are going to be the points of this through
Gear
to this.
changes it.
Yeah, exactly. Gear changes everything. Okay. Let's kick off with the Adeptus Sororitas. This is the Sanctorum Guard.
Yep.
They look sick. These are a little bit different. I want to open now. You notice that some of the some of the Sigmar boxes had named characters in them. That was only some of them. And even Gobstrak was able to be not a named character. It was like what? Dryja Hammerdreth and my brain.
Who's
the other
Lady Alenda?
Thank you, Lady Alinda. Thank you. That's what
there.
it was. We got there. So Lady Alinda and Dryja were basically the only two that had that. Well, the theme almost of these boxes is that you get a character that is a named character in Cutfield. Like you're getting
everything but Imperial Knights.
Yes, and Imperial Knights, the face one is obviously also the named guy, so that's really useful. But he has the alternate switch. So, Sanctorum Guard. We start with Morven Val, the most important unit to a Adeptus Sororitas army in 2022. Glad that the box comes with that. 2 squads of Paragon Warsuits, 3 each. Very good. 10 Battle Sisters for your troops. And then 5 of those, what are they called? Celestian Sacrosancts. Sacrosaints. They're cool. I love the Sacrosancts. I love them. I think they're great. They used to be a lot better because Bodyguard rule used to be better. They nerfed Bodyguard rule not long ago.
Cowards.
Grand scheme of things, and cowards. Like a good couple of months ago, they nerfed the Bodyguard rule. Half a year ago. And that makes these models a little bit worse for wear. Also, having those big fat shields means they were excluded from the Armor of Contempt buff that the armies of the Imperium received, or at least the armies of Space Marine-esque armies received. So they don't get that, which means they're a little bit okay in today's format. I think it's important to have a single squad of them to keep units like Morven Val alive, just because they get shot first.
Yep.
And while it's not as abusive as it used to be, still very valid. They're very useful. Battle Sisters, I don't necessarily like buying Battle Sisters. Like, I think troops in 40k have a bit of a problem, but it's good to have them in the box. Very important. Should always have troops in the box. Never going to shade on. 2 boxes of 3 Paragon Warsuits. These units are interesting. I think they're very strong. I think their points are a little bit heavy weighted. They're a little bit too expensive, but they're very, very good. Like, they're very, very like punch up, very killy. They could be strapped on with anti-infantry or of course the melter for anti-tank. You'll often bring them with the melter. I find that often that's the case. And their melee is very good too. There was an option here for something like Sisters Repentia to really push them into something that felt a little bit more competitive. But I also really like this list, and I wouldn't be against like receiving this or buying this for somebody else. Like, I don't see any issues.
It definitely looks like a fun box.
Yeah, and also the hobby is important that we keep coming back to, and it's all important to mention. Like, I talked about those clan rats and the plague monks being like 80 garbage models, and then we talk about the 16 dryads being painting them brown. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's those layers. But this is a good example of a great hobby box. Because I think the Paragon War suits have a ton of detail on them, more than Battle of course does. Battle Sisters tend to be pretty good because they are newer in the grand scope of the game, and those Sacrosancts are brand new in there. And I think that just by definition, you'll find that halfway through painting the Sacrosancts, you'll fall in love with them. So
yeah, and the total cost of all the models in there, it's pretty solid value.
Pretty solid value. That's really good. We've got next is the Adeptus Custodes, the Watchers of the Gate. Woo!
Ooh, boy.
Why don't you start with what you're looking at?
Oh, well, they're the second highest value box, I think, overall.
Yep.
Out of everything this year at $542 worth of value. And that's just because Custodes, for some reason, seem to be priced by based on their points value.
Yeah, essentially, right. Yeah, it's really, it reminds you of that very quickly. This box is...
Custodes are definitely the ones that are priced based on the game, not on the product.
Oh, absolutely. At least that definitely also arguably makes argument for the sculpts as opposed to the weight of the plastic is really another thing as well. But then again, they're sculpts whatever anyway. So anyway, that's me. Don't hate me in the comments, chat. So this box comes with 3 squads of 5 Custodian Guard, which can be made in a plethora of different ways. You've got the long axes, you've got the swords and boards, you've got the option to make Vexillas. The Wardens are a different box. But you really can just make Wardens out of Guard. It takes no time at all. Yeah. The only real difference is that they have an axe head instead of the blade head as an option, and they have a coat over their hip. And if you had a little bit of milliput or green stuff, you could just take it anyway. Take no time at all. So I think you can easily do that. But more importantly, they do come with a shield captain and a Vexillus Praetor in every squad of 5. So one of those squads of 5 could be almost a command what you're basically building, whereas the other 2 squads of 5 can just be squads of 5. Or you can make all 3 just squads of 5 because Guard are crazy good and they all have sword and board, so problem solved. 3 Alaris Terminators, really good. 3 Virtus Praetors, the bikes, they're amazing. And of course, the Trajan Valoris, Captain General Trajan Valoris. An amazing character. I don't think competitively he's too important to the game, ironically enough, because he is their their Captain General. So, he's not that important to your army. Good to have him. He's a great model, great to fun to paint. I think this is the perfect box that we've seen so far, I think, as far as gameplay is concerned. This is the ultimate box. This was the most expensive points-wise out of all the boxes, which is, you'd think it's funny because there's a box coming down further on that I found that even making room with the points, that Knight box, even the Knights weren't getting close to this. Well, not really, which is why it's so wild to me. Because you'd think the Knights would be on the same.
There's another element to that, which we'll get to.
Of course. So, Custodians, I think this box is amazing. This is probably the best box. We've only seen 2 of these so far, but this is a lot better than the Sisters box. I have no questions about any of the units. You should bring all these units. Custodians don't have a lot of options. They're like Harlequins, but you should bring all these units.
Yeah, I feel like it's a box that's benefiting from the fact that the Custodians haven't had a massive range.
Exactly. And they don't necessarily need one.
No.
Don't want to put any negative connotations on that. They're really good models, so this is a great box. An awesome box. Juxtaposing that box, we have the Elimination Maniple, which is the Adeptus Mechanicus. This box is interesting. It's got Belisarius Call, of course, the main guy, the Adeptus Mechanicus, arguably.
Mr. Mechanicus
himself, Belisarius Call. We've got the Cataphron Destroyers, 2 boxes of those, the pair of deadly Castellan robots with the Cybernetica Datasmith Handler, and we've got a box of Skitarii Vanguard, which of course can be Skitarii Rangers.
Your battle.
Which are your battle line. They're your troops. That's what you need. No question about that. Skitarii Rangers. Yeah, I'll take those. Crazy. Good to have those. I find Castellan robots to be a really cool part of the AdMech. They're a really unique element to them, and it's really cool to have them on the battlefield. They're okay, but they're really good to have on the battlefield. Cataphron Destroyers, however.
Did they not really make good survival into the current edition?
Not really, no. Not entirely. I think there are lists that bring them. I think they're okay. I don't think they're good enough to be 6 of them in this box. If that kind of makes sense. Yeah. I think it's I don't want to turn my nose up at anyone bringing Cataphron Destroyers because they have their role. They're a fairly slow moving unit that can ignore the lightish terrain, which helps them kind of avoid that slow movement by ignoring movement penalties. They have good output. I mean, AdMech have good output. That's not unique to them. It's it reminds me of the Brokia Thunderkin from the Leagues of Otan, where it's this is a platform that looks really good. The weapons are good, the movement's fine, the defenses are fine. But I'm already an army that does all of these things really well, and I want to focus on the other stuff that benefits me defensively or benefits me in a utility way, because my army will intrinsically have good output. If I just have, I feel like the Elimination Maniple is not designed to be a Skitarii box, and I don't necessarily agree that every single box of AdMech needs to be just Skitarii. But it is upsetting when you see a box that is. It reminds you why the boxes are all Skitarii, right? This box kind of reminds you when you're missing out on Skitarii, when you're missing out on those like Taraxi, when you're missing out on Iron Striders.
Yeah, I mean, like they could have dropped one of the Cataphrons and at least put in like some Cerberus Riders. Bit of flair.
Bit of flair. Even like, and that's another thing as well. Even just a little bit of movement, like for God's sakes, like this box is so
you know what?
slow.
Drop the 2 Cataphrons and put an Archaeoraptor.
Yeah, any of that stuff.
Archaeopter.
Yeah, the big copter. Yeah, that'd be awesome, right? That'd be amazing. So
that would have definitely made it much more. The Archaeopter be a troop transport as well.
I want to say yes, with this Skitarii, it can do that. It can move them around. I'm pretty sure.
That would
be
a fun box.
Yeah, that'd be a really fun box. And that's the thing, right? You're playing your army has like some weaknesses, at least in these models, and then your box comes with a little form of an answer for that. It's like, your box of like again, look at the custodies.
Look, the way I'm thinking about this though. Look at these products. Christmas Day, I've got one. My friend has got one as well. Like 14. I'm not 33-year-old.
I mean, you can be whatever you want, man. But go on.
You know what? Crack it open.
Yeah.
Christmas Day together.
100%.
No, like you crack them open on Christmas Day. You spend Christmas Day, the family lunch. At night,
Yep.
Like that's how I see these kind of boxes as being a really good product. I think that like if you had that Archaeopter instead of the Cataphrone Mechanicus box, you've essentially built 5 units to be able to put on the board and have some fun with it while you're playing. Like you're playing
you're touching more of the game.
Yeah,
that's really what it is. Yeah, you're touching more of the game. You're really heavily into the movement phase. You're heavily into like just being mobile and actively touching your models. And I think in like Warhammer, it comes down, especially AdMech, comes down to a lot of like, I pick up my dice a lot, but I don't pick up my models very much. The game's a lot more fun when you're picking up your models a lot. And I think, like I said, like if you look at the Sanctorum Guard with the Adeptus Sororitas, the battle suits, the war suits are quite fast. They're like 8-inch move from memory. They're quite fast, very useful. Look at the Custodians where they have those 3 Virtus Praetors to cover that movement, that kind of stuff. This box doesn't seem to cover anything. This box literally just sits in the corner and throws dice at you, and it just feels like uncool because also those Cataphron aren't always super long range. Like if you don't build them right, they won't be very long range, and all of a sudden like may want to have those short ranges, and you're like, oh well, I just can't play the game. And you're like, oh, I have to go into the long ranges, and now I'm just rolling dice at you from miles away, which is like, again, if in most contexts, that's fine, right? Who cares? It's one. Like, that's how the game is played sometimes.
Just put an Honor Good Dooncrawler in it.
Right?
But then it's a Star Collecting box.
It's a Star Collecting box, right? So this is that kind of issue there. And I think a lot of these boxes actually in the 40k range have a lot of overlap with the Star Collecting, which is why these are so frustrating.
They're like Star Collecting minus one
unit, yeah. Or minus 1 unit and then plus another copy of a unit that came.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're not going to go into it too much. This is a very negative one in my opinion. I want to give, if I had to give it out of 5 rubber chickens, the Elimination Maniple would be 1 out of 5 rubber chickens. One rubber chicken.
It's middle of the range too in terms of retail value. It's $476 worth of models. So I'm expecting the price point to be somewhere around the 300-ish mark. I don't know the prices of the 40k ones. We haven't got them yet.
At all.
So I'm expecting that to be around the $300 mark at retail. So
I can see it. So we got Chainbreaker Lance is the next box here. This is the Imperial Knights box.
Imperial Knights.
This is the most boring box to look at.
You want to use something crazier?
Oh.
It's the cheapest box, 40k box.
Oh my god, look at that.
By $1 whole.
By $1 whole. Look at that.
$1 cheaper than the Mechanicus box.
Isn't that crazy?
But is the cheapest 40k box. This has never happened. Everyone wants the Imperial Knight box. I don't think I want this box.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this box. I think it's boring to look at immediately, right? I think it's boring to look at because you go, it's 4 armages and a big knight, right? But I think what I like about this box a lot is that it's perfect by 2 of. And that's the irony of how many we're going to get. But it's perfect by 2 of. Oh my god.
It's actually a really great Chaos Knights box, to be honest.
And that's what I was going to say as well. In the same context of we're opening our packs together, like we're 2 brothers. Let's just call 2 brothers. But we're opening like our Christmas presents, right? Ripping them all open. And we both get a Chainbreaker Lance, right? We can both get this box and have 2 very different armies that operate very differently that we can verse each other with and enjoy this and have this kind of parity that's happening, right? Where we kind of have the same looking kind of models. And, we built on the front here, it does show Knight Preceptor Canis Rex. That can be built as any Questoris class knight, which is any knight of his size, which is all of the ones you know from the marketing and the boxes, all those classic knights, you know them. He can be built as any of those, which is incredible. So you're going to have a very unique box to work with. You're going to have a lot of bits left over afterwards for kit bashing. It's a cool box.
I think what they should have done with this box too is just included a Chaos Sprue.
You know what? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that's such an like an issue for them. It feels really strange that the Chaos Knight boxes need to be Warhound or War Dogs, I think they're called, are like entirely different kits altogether to armigers. When it's like you could just put Spike on an armiger and it would just be a Chaos armiger. You don't have to have this
Like, give
entirely
me-
different sculpt.
Like, I remember back in the day, there was just a Chaos vehicle sprue. That was, you want to buy a Chaos Rhino? Well, it's the Rhino plus a Chaos sprue.
Yeah, and it had like
You want
those
the
like
Land
fences
Raider, the
almost.
Chaos
like,
Land Raider. Land Raider with the Chaos sprue. Like,
Yeah,
that's it.
right?
That's all it is to it.
It was literally like the joke was like, oh, you put spikes on things and it's chaos, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, that's legitimately true.
That's legitimately true.
That's actually
Yeah.
how it works.
That's all I wanted.
That's
So
all I
I
want.
reckon if this box included a Chaos sprue that let people choose if they wanted to build it as an Imperial Imperial Knights or as a Chaos Knights box set, I reckon that would have been instant win.
Absolutely. I think that there's a layer to also put here where it would kind of show a glaring fault with the Chaos Knights though, which is that they don't have names. And these
Yeah.
boxes are all about named characters. So on the front you'd have Canis Rex and it'd be like, you can build it as any Questoris class knight, which includes any Questoris class Chaos Knight. And it's like, what about the Canis Rex Chaos variant? It's like, oh, there isn't one. There isn't like a named character Chaos Knight. So I think it'd be like, maybe from Games Workshop, they're like, we
Big
don't
stat,
want to.
by the
Yeah.
way.
First of all,
Yeah, you
Big
guys
stat.
released a new codex for 9th edition and didn't give us like just a mutated Canis Rex.
you know what I mean?
Fringe.
Or any kind of just cool like named character. A bit of flair in the Knights, because the Knights, that's what they're all about too. Like, if you haven't played like the new Orc game, there's like a reference to like how Knights kind of work in that game. All right, so Death Guard Council.
How many rubber chickens on the Imperial Knights?
Oh,
box?
how many? Four.
4 rubber chickens?
4 rubber chickens. Am I just
5 if
reviewing them
inclu-
now?
5 if it included a Chaos sprue.
Yeah, I think like I think that's absolutely valid. I think I don't know. Personally, I agree, but I don't see that as like a fault of this product. I think this product's really good regardless. I think this product's really good regardless. All right, but the box looks bad. I will say that the box looks bad. This box looks boring. I don't want to buy this. Doesn't make me excited to play Knights. I know because I comprehensively understand Knights pretty well as a Warhammer player that this is a great box.
Yeah, because
If
there's
I
so much
look-
versatility. It's the most versatile box.
Very versatile, but also like it's just, and I also know that the army is just great to play and great to like run. But I know that if I was looking this on the shelf, I wouldn't necessarily just visually go, I want this Chainbreaker Lance. It's super.
Yeah.
Very regimented. It looks boring. It's very Imperial Knights, isn't it? And that's where we come back to the Chaos Knights being so. All right, Council of the Death Lord. This is interesting. We've got 14 Plague Marines, 2 squads of 7, because 7 is the number.
7 is in the box.
We've got the 5 Blight Lord Terminators. We've got Mortarion.
And that is
that's
it.
all it comes with.
That's it,
I
yeah.
was like, I think that's all it comes with, yeah. So what's the price on this? What's the retail on these models?
Retail is $4.96. A
$4.96.
big chunk of that is Mortarion.
Huge chunk. I was going to say that, yeah. This feels like a Mortarion box extra. This box and the box we're going to follow after it are perfect examples of buy this box like first and then add random stuff to
Yeah,
it.
afterwards, yep.
Or if you're desperately looking for the big character, add this to an existing force.
Yep.
If you're desperately looking for a big character, but more accurately, this is a great starter force for the Death
Yeah,
Guard.
I don't know if you can play Death Guard without Mortarion now. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
such
don't
a
know.
key piece.
Yeah, I think this box doesn't have any Plague Burst crawlers. Speaking of key pieces,
Yeah.
and I think that's like a 3 of in most lists, maybe easily.
I
it's
think-
guaranteed 2 of.
I think that's your next purchase. Like, if this is a box that's ready for you to tack on a couple extra models to, and you start playing at full 2000.
For sure, for sure.
And that's realistically, like, if you're getting this box, pick yourself up 3 Plague Burst Crawl.
Absolutely,
You have an army.
absolutely. No,
You don't need to
100%.
think about anything else like that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think like you can go towards like your other Nurgle stuff and still have some really.
Oh,
I knock something? I don't think so. I think that you're absolutely right. I think you can go towards other Nurgle stuff, but yeah, the triple PBC would be the best way to go, and this army would be just set in stone.
and
It's
that
easy.
one's 496.
496. It's an easy 3 out of 5. It does what it needs to do. It gives you Plague Marines. Blight Lord Terminators have core now. Sorry. They always had core. They have OBSEC now,
Yep.
as far as the updates to Death Guard are concerned. So they now have always OBSEC. That's amazing. That's very useful. So you're getting like some very useful stuff. And Mortarion, as Dylan has mentioned, is like a key part of your entire deck, your entire army's identity.
Yep.
You know, it's a linchpin of your army. So you want to have him. Next, we've got the Court of the Crimson King. It's 1,000
Ooh.
Suns. It's going to come with, of course, Magnus the Red, the Crimson King himself. We've got a box of 3 Exalted Sorcerers, which is one of my favorite boxes in all of 40k. I think it's such a high value box to have 3 characters, and that are all very, very unique, have lots of options, have lots of bits. And then you get 20 rubrics. That's it. Very regimented again, isn't it? Like you're getting a bunch of your troops, the big character, and something else. The same way you got 2 squads of 7 Plague Marines, you're getting 2 squads of 10 rubrics. Same way you got a squad of Blight Lords, you're getting a squad of Exalted. The same way you got Mortarion, you're going to get
You got a Primarch.
You're going to get Magnus.
Yep. And this one actually comes to about. So it's only $2
Nice.
more in terms of retail value.
Yeah, which is very, very interesting, isn't it, actually, how that works out. Yeah, it's very good. And this box is great. I love Rubric Marines. I love painting them. I love playing them.
What would you add to it?
If I had to add to this, I think the immediate response for me is it doesn't have Terminators. It needs Scarab Occult Terminators as its first thing. A big brick of 10 Scarab Occult Terminators. First thing I'd put in this list without a question about it. From there, it would be kind of hard. That's where I would kind of go towards like what you want out of the list. Because I would really like to go towards like a Helldrake. Because the list isn't super fast, and I really like the Helldrakes. I think that's very useful. If you want to go towards something like a Mutalith Vortex Beast, my best advice to you currently would be to look towards the Chaos Demons. And try looking towards a detachment where you can bring something like a Lord of Change, or even just like a Flux Caster, and then the Flamers, and bring some Flamers of Tzeentch, Exalted Flamers, or even just, honestly, just normal Flamers, just Flamers of Tzeentch outright, 2 squads of 6. Fit those into your Thousand Suns list, you'll have a ton of success. Thousand Suns are great at casting spells, and they're great at being tanky, but they're not great at doing damage. They can omit defenses really easily, like get past your defenses, ignore your cover, have a bunch of AP. That's great, but actually turning that, into
stacking up that damage,
it can be hard for them. So I think it's very, very useful to have those Flamers just like drop them in, kill a unit every time you breathe on them.
Particularly when you're looking at like.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that now that's my advice. I definitely think that's a good idea. Now I don't know how long term that advice is. If you're watching this in like 2024 or something. I don't know how long-term that advice is, obviously, because it can be very difficult to soup demons and Chaos Marines as you're moving towards, like, or any kind of Chaos faction, as you move towards new editions.
They're all probably already looking at nerfing Chaos already, considering their current showing in the meta.
Exactly, and especially Flamers, as a good example, just like I said, just putting them in every other army and saying, oh, my Chaos Marines and my Thousand Suns have Flamers now, makes it so, so strong. So there's a bit of a liability there as far as those models are concerned, but that would be my advice. And first things first, though, Scarab Occult Terminators, you'll never go wrong. They're great models. They do great things. Honestly, 2 bricks of 10 is really freaking good. But that's a lot of models you're investing in. But I think a single brick of 10 to get you kicked off would be very good. Very, very good. Oh, and also don't shy off Zangors. They're really good. They're your version of cultists. Don't shy off Zangors and Zangor Shamans. But yeah, that's like, they're good too. And if you want to paint like fleshy guys, they're great for that. All right.
The last 2, which I would argue would probably be the most contentious of these boxes. They definitely scream we had some parts left over.
Not only that, it's definitely like we had to find, well, yeah, there's the look of like, before we get into it, there's the look of like we have to make an excuse for why we're moving on these specific products. But then there's also a layer where it's like these are the most like fluffy variants as well. Out of all of the factions, these are the fluffiest ones in my opinion. These are the ones that go like, oh, I'm playing this very particular thing. We kick it off with the Imperial Fist's Bastion Strike Force. This is a wild list. So this is Tor Garridan, the named character for the Primaris named character for the Imperial Fist. Their siege captain.
Yep. Because Rogel Dawn's dead.
Or siege master, yeah, because it's not a chapter master, it's a siege master.
Yeah.
That's right.
Never forget.
Never forget. So we get a squad of 3 Primaris aggressors. That makes sense. Your Imperial Fists. We get something a bit weird. We get 15
3 boxes of heavy intercessors?
3 boxes of heavy intercessors. These are models that came out in a Kill Team Pariah.
Yeah.
They then moved from a Kill Team Pariah exclusive to a box of 5 for $100 for a box of 5, which was insane.
Are they heavy support too?
They are not. They are literally troops.
They are troops?
They are literally just like...
Oh my god, I thought they were like elite or heavy support. Holy shit.
No, they are literally troop
Those are amazing.
They're, right? They're insane. So they're okay. They're overcosted. They're around 45 points a model, I think they work out to be. And they're toughness 5, 3 wounds, 5-inch move Marines. So they're very slow, steady Marines. They have a stratagem where they go...
Plague Marines.
Yeah, right. They have a stratagem where they go like Armor Lock, like Halo Reach, and they get +1 save against damage 1 weapons, kind of like Rubric Marines have innately. Kind of like that. So they get some really, really cool stuff like that, which is, I think, just so strong. Really fun. I play a lot of Imperial Fists, and because they have bolt weapons, the Imperial Fists give them exploding 6s, and then they're getting ignore cover. It's just awesome. They have a point of AP on all their guns because they have heavy versions of the guns. So that's really good. Like, just amazing.
You also forget the most important part that gets added to that. An Imperial Fist transfers and upgrades kit.
Sorry, there is an Imperial Fist transfers and upgrade kit, of course. Just like in the next box, they'll be for that faction as well. Apologies, which is really important. That does add to the price, which is valid.
So the total retail value of the Imperial Fist one is $509.
509?
509, yeah. It's the third.
It's good value.
Good value.
Except value is in 15 heavy intercessors.
Yeah.
Because also, by the way,
That does make up $315 worth of product.
Right? Isn't that $105
$105 each, yep.
Fucking hell. Oh my god, man. Like, can I also add, by the way, heavy intercessors are a Space Marine unit, right? They're not an Imperial Fist unit. They're a Space Marine unit. Anyone can bring them.
Yeah.
Except they won't.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing Imperial Fist. You will not bring heavy intercessors in any game because, like, I played them in, like, Green Wing Dark Angels, and I promise you they were bad there. But I brought a big brick of 10 so I could use a certain secondary, Stubborn Defiance, which if you know what that is at home, you're probably thinking, Trent, you're a bad person. 30 wound Stubborn Defiance threat, you're a bad person. Anyway, outside of that, I found no use for them. And that's why I don't necessarily love this box unless you know the person really wants to get into Imperial Fist, or you get them like a gift card and they buy it themselves. Just because these models are not great outside of Imperial Fist. I think maybe Ultramarines can use them. But this is obviously very much designed for Imperial Fist. Obviously, Tor Garridan is unique to Imperial Fist, but the flexibility.
You can kind of make him look like a captain.
You can make him look like Captain in Gravis
Anyway,
armor. That's
yeah.
fine. Yeah, that's easy. He's easy to convert. You can easily make a Gravis army. I just worry that you will fall into the whole of like, Space Marines are already kind of struggling in the format, and these are the strugglings of the Space Marines.
Yeah.
These models struggle as Space Marines, and then they're already struggling. So I'm going to struggle a lot if I don't want to play Imperial Fist. And then you might find that you play Imperial Fist, and then you're doing really well with them, because I think they're really good in that army genuinely. And then all of a sudden, like, you get into the wider world of 40k, and you realize, I have nothing to do with Imperial Fist. And you may decide, like, I actually like Blood Angels. I prefer them. And you're like, well, I'm screwed, because these models will not do anything for me.
Actually, the good chunk of the Blood Angels list that are creeping up the meta are old models.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
what Sanguinary Guard and Death Company.
Exclusively Death Company Sanguinary Guard. Yeah. There's heaps of Sanguinary Guard bricks running around. And end of the discussion though, it's like White Scars, I feel like I would argue White Scars could use them, actually, because they ignore penalties for assault weapons and you can just advance with them. And you can just roll a d6 and have, like, instead of a 5-inch move, you might have an 8-inch move. Ignore penalties to assault weapons, which is, that's not bad.
It works out.
And
now they can move like normal Marines.
They can move like normal Marines, and and you have to bring a very specific version of their gun and with no AP, but you can do it. You can do it. Yeah, you can do it. So
bless.
Anyway, so this is the Bastion Strike Force. Ironically, my favorite personally out of all the boxes, because I think it's so fluffy and it's so cool, and I think Heavy Intercessors are also just great to assemble, and I hate assembling. I think they're one of the best models to assemble. So they're a bit biased there, but this box is.
I do
great.
find the Gravis armor stuff paint too.
So
nice, smooth, organic line. Without being but still being techie
and layered.
Yep.
Right, where lets you kind of get involved with a lot of edge highlighting, stuff like that. Space Marines with their paneling as such are so boring at times because Gravis are so layered.
Yeah,
and I think they're just great for it. So yeah, no, I 100% agree. And then finally, the final box of today. I know we've been here all day. We're here all day, mate.
And it also is the most valuable from a retail perspective.
Oh, here we go. All right. So from a retail perspective, this is the most valuable, and thank God it's that in retail. Thank God it's valuable money-wise, because it is.
Not very valuable competitively, right?
Yeah, it's Chapter Master K-Van Strike. He leads it from the front. He's supported by a Librarian in Phobos armor, which is a new choice. They're joined by 10 Primaris Reavers and 2 Invicta Tactical Warsuits with 3 Eliminators for good measure, they say.
And Raven Guard transfers and
upgrade. Sorry, and of course, the Raven Guard transfers and upgrade here, guys, the most important part of this box. Because, of course, you're definitely never going to paint them as anything else. You're only going to paint them as Raven Guard. You're only going to put Raven Guard transfers on, obviously.
The upgrade kit includes, alternate heads and, shoulder pads, right?
But not that many. A couple, yeah.
Yeah, so you're definitely going to fit that in your... and Primaris Reavers and 3 limit. I don't see anyone getting full. I see someone running out of Imperial Fist upgrades.
Oh yeah, but they're not going to run out of Raven Guard upgrades.
They may not run out of Raven Guard upgrades just because it's only 10 Reavers and 3 Eliminators that are really.
Well, maybe
useful.
they're just super kitted Raven Guard style. You know what?
Yeah.
They're probably. Actually, I think the upgrade kit though is tiny from memory. I do think it's a tiny little sprue like this.
Yeah,
big,
it's just one. It's
couple
one or two sprues. Yeah,
with a couple of upgrades on it. And I think it's actually kind of embarrassing. So I wouldn't even be surprised if you did. I wouldn't even be surprised. Yeah, if you couldn't finish your Reavers with the upgrade sprue. I wouldn't even be surprised because it's that embarrassing. They're upgrade sprues. But anyway, sorry, not to shit on that. Point is let's talk about what this kit does, what this box does. Invicta Tactical Warsuits have the ability to infiltrate. So they can deploy deep in your opponent's lines, or at least in the no man's land. So they can kind of start on important points of the board. The 9th edition, especially currently, is a very shooting heavy, mortal wound heavy game where Invicta Tactical Warsuits kind of sit out in the open. They go, on this objective, it's very important, very early game. Your opponent's like, unfortunately, this is the only thing I can see right now, and target, and I'm just going to blow up your Invictus Tactical Warsuit with like a hail of ion and
It's a
plasma.
nice tactical warsuit you had there on the first turn. Let me just. Oh, my exocrine's already pointing at it.
Damn, look at that.
How did this happen?
Those are some nice searing ankles rising out of the ground.
Cool crater, bro.
Cool crater, bro. Damn, really nice, dude. Did you buy that in the Christmas box? Anyway, so they're cool models. They don't have much of a place right now because of that one problem.
Yeah.
I think the Phobos stuff is cool to get in a box like this because I think the Army of Renown that came out for Phobos is horribly underplayed. Not competitively super intense, but I think it's really good, like from a kitchen top standpoint. Like it's quite competitive, I mean to say, from a kitchen top standpoint, when you're playing with just friends and you're all playing quite casually, it can really win games for you and really put you in the right direction. I'm glad to see that Phobos gets a bit of love. I don't know why they're Reavers. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Isn't there like a new version of infiltrators?
Yeah, there's infiltrators and incursors, which are like your Phobos troops.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that see play. Because they're the, fun fact, infiltrators, I want to say incursors actually.
Incursors.
Incursors are the ones that Blood Angels are playing. That's the troop slot currently for Blood Angels, because obviously Death Company that beats Fast Stack. So their troop slot right now is just Incursors. And I really wish that this was Incursors or Infiltrators, because I feel like other armies would be able to benefit from this. Eliminators are one of the best Space Marine models out there right now. They just got their points changed that their Lads Fusils don't cost extra points. They have Armor of Contempt. They have ability where they get +1 cover in +1 save in cover. Like, they're just awesome. Everything about them is amazing. I really like them. If you give the leader a certain type of gun called the Instigator Bolt Carbine, he can do like a jump. So we can shoot and then move again, making sure they can jump out of cover, do their shooting, jump back into the cover and stay safe, hold objectives XYZ. You don't need to sacrifice anything. They're very good models right now. Arguably, they make the whole Space Marine model range look worse because they're so good. So it's good to have those in this box, like 3 of them in a huge Christmas box full of tons of models. You get 3, which is like.
But then, like, Primaris Reavers are like the old infiltrating. They're the
I mean?
old Primaris Scouts.
Yeah, which is kind of weird, and like it doesn't feel like they have much of a place at the moment.
Yeah.
K-Man Strike, I think, is a great character, but his whole thing is just, unfortunately, not something that happens mechanically much in Ninth. His whole thing is he has this silencer gun and shoot a character with it, and zot a character through his big unit of guys. He'd be like, no, I ignore that lookout so rule and I zot you. That's fine, except, like...
I mean, it's good in the boxes that all have characters in them, but that's it.
It's good in the boxes that all have characters in them, but that character better not be Mortarion, because your little, like, chicken silencer is not going to do much against Mortarion.
Yeah. So also, lookout so it doesn't work with Mortarion.
Well, of course, yes. You know, that rule's not even, you don't even benefit from it. But let's say, look, what's a model right now that's benefiting from lookout so something I desperately need to kill? What about like a Hive Tyrant, a winged Hive Tyrant next to a Tyrant Guard squad? Oh, I'm going to kill that with my little silencer. Like, I don't think so. It's often like, I can kill a little Gene Stealer Cult character, or maybe like a Primaris Lieutenant or something. And often that's just not enough. For a character that costs you a good amount of points, he's got his utility bubbles. He's meant to be your chapter master, you know? He's meant to be your chapter master. And
he's not going to repay his points.
He's not going to repay his points. That's kind of an issue. And it is a bit of a trading game. Anyway, lastly, I'm glad to see the Phobos Librarian. These boxes don't come with enough of those. Raven Guards, specifically, have great spells, psychic spells. It's good they brought one. Personally, again, cut the Reavers. That's bullshit. Give us Infiltrators and Incursors. Give us that box, first of all. Second of all, that Phobos Lieutenant model that came out like, what? I think it was at the end of 8th edition. It's like the guy that's like jumping over the smoke grenade.
Yeah.
That's one of the best
for
a Space Marine character
Yep.
in all of 40k.
Yep.
They nail on the head with that. Where is he?
Yeah, why is he not in
Why
here?
is he? Because he's also like a Reaver skull, like helmet. Why is he not in this box? Why do I have a Phobos Librarian?
Because they sold out.
Probably because they sold out. You know what I mean?
One thing to note too is if you have a look on the website, a lot of the stock that is in is now sold out.
Yeah, so that you can't just go buy those separate. You can't see this box and go, "Ooh, I really want those Eliminators. I'll buy those."
Yeah, or I think it's more they've kind of reduced stock by putting them all. Just very obvious.
Sorry, that's definitely accurate.
Yes.
I'm being cynical here. I'm being cynical. You know, and what you're saying is definitely accurate.
But yeah, Raven Guard. Definitely the most valuable of all of the Battleforce boxes at $557 worth of retail value. This is all in Australian dollars, by the way. If you're in New Zealand, I guess 10% more. If you're anywhere else in the world, half the price.
Lot less. Yeah, a lot less. And then like half price, and then consider the no tax.
Yeah,
well.
no tax.
You don't have that shipping tax.
Yeah.
So like, you know, it's probably like a third of the price. I was looking recently at just on a quick note. I was recently looking of the values in pounds.
Yep.
UK like front end of the website for Games Workshop, and it's just agreed. It's insane. I was looking at boxes that we're buying in Australia for $360 Australian, and it was converted 210.
Yeah, look, there's definitely a problem with how GW operates out of Australia. Of that, a kind of prices at.
Yeah.
Australia's like, oh, that doesn't work, my man.
How things work here. Sorry, that's just not how things work here.
Yeah. So I know I've had discussions with reps in the past that have since moved at some of the information. Australian is an interesting tale to tell, one that I don't.
Yeah, it's
online,
again,
but
it comes back to the NDA thing. But again, it's like, well, you can see there's some negligence. I think that's without saying anything else.
Not privy to the market, if you will.
Yeah, the company is very fat.
Yeah, that's a real monopoly right there.
It's a real monopoly right
there.
Hey,
brought it full circle. Look at that. Yeah.
So that was it for the Christmas boxes. Final verdict is that I think these boxes are, even the worst boxes are great value. I think they're boxes that I'll definitely be looking at investing in 1 or 2 of them for some new armies or just to bump existing armies. Sisters are something that I've always wanted to kind of look at because I love painting them. I think this new Sisters box makes me want to do that. I had to talk myself out of buying the Knights box. I had to talk to some friends and I'm like, please explain to me why I don't need like 9 new Knights. I mean, right now that I don't need 9 Knights. And one of my mates was like, Trent, come on, like you're going to get all the way finished done. And then you're going to be like, one of these isn't a Psyker and you're going to regret not having bought Chaos Knights. And I was like, good point. Good point.
Well, you got me there.
You got me there. I was like, oh, that's right. One of them's not going to be a Psyker. So, but anyway, I digress. So, I think they're great boxes. I think there's awesome value. I think there were some misses. Cruel Boys, good example. Admech, good example. But I think if you again, squint your eyes, turn your head sideways, and look from a different perspective, you can look at that perspective of the Cruel Boys, where it's like, I've already invested in the army, I bought Dominion, that kind of stuff. This is a great box. And again, with the Admech, it's like maybe I just don't like Skitarii. That's the aesthetic I don't want to go into.
So if you could buy one box, only one box, what would it get?
Squigalanche.
Squigalanche?
I wouldn't even question it. I think the Squigalanche. I think my favorite. Bastion Force, though. I think my favorite is still the Bastion Force, but it's hard because I feel like
I said one, Trent. Go on.
I know, but I feel like heavy intercessors are
Fun.
they're so cool, but they're also so hard to justify buying the
Yeah.
boxes of 5. So I think that's like pushing me. Okay, with what I have, with my collection that I own, I would definitely buy the Bastion. That would be my answer. But if you said, Trent, in a vacuum, you as a person, and you had to buy your first army, instantly that's Squigalanche. That's what excites me. That Squigalanche looks amazing, and it's very, very, like...
I'd personally go to Wargrove.
Nice, yeah, nice. I love that Wargrove.
What about you, Piper? Producer Piper?
It's hard. They're so cool.
They're so cool.
They're so cool. I would probably have to say, probably Daughters of Cain.
Oh, the DOK box.
Yeah,
is
it's a good starting point, yeah.
It's a really good starting point. I've always really been interested in like Daughters of Cain and the Melisai and stuff like that, but I've never really invested in it.
Like realistically, to turn that box into something more powerful, like all you need to do is either buy one more cauldron, have to buy one more cauldron, one more squad of Sai, or squad of witch elves.
Yeah, exactly. Go one side or the other.
Yeah, and that's it. That's all you really need to do with it.
Exactly. I think we talked about this, and then of course Marathi Kane is just awesome, and they'll just fill out your points. Such a great model, fill out your points easily. You're like, but I don't like her. Right? I don't like her.
Played against her enough.
Yeah, I don't want to. Nobody plays Marathi Kane.
I don't want her.
I think that I
take my Maw Crusher from doing real damage.
I think that we take a step back here for a quick second. I did say at the very beginning when I talked about that Daughters Kane. Daughters can go in specific directions, and I think most armies do. And this is kind of pushing you in 2 separate directions. I do think there's I don't know if I mentioned this before, I think there's validation to that. I think it's good to have a box where you're like, oh, I don't know kind of what I want. I know I want Daughters of Cain. I don't know what it is they want.
There's a thing I've always kind of tried to push with Jenna as well. My wife, she plays Daughters of Cain
very well.
Very well. I think I've only beaten her with my Maw Crusher getting it. 2 squads of sisters.
Yeah, you got very lucky.
Yeah, I got lucky on that one.
I think last time I managed to beat Jenna, it was literally, I think they were biting their nails basically because the game was so close. And then I think I just got I think it was literally a double turn followed by all my spells got. Oh, that's right. It was a double turn followed by, they got the double turn, but then they failed 3 1s in a row.
Yep.
And then just lost. And I was like, gameplay. Dice game. I sat there with my chess brew and I was like, Much better than you.
I'm the
did.
best
I
player.
outplayed you. It's like 3 ones
Not
on
the
their board
dice going
prayers.
down.
Yeah, I know. Right? We're not happy either.
But yeah, I've always tried to push it, or at least like even try out like a squad of the life takers, because I think that bow range for the Melissae is a very valid option, even if they don't fit fully into your temple. Which is your like sub faction for Daughters of Cain. I think one squad of those being able to harangue things from afar before they get to you will give you some good cover. So I definitely think like this box is a really great starting point for Daughters of Cain.
Absolutely,
because it gives you a taste to try out those Melissae, and if you don't like it, well then you buy further into Witch Elves Slaughter.
Absolutely,
but you know you may end up enjoying that mid to long range like capability.
Yeah, I think personally, if I had to talk about that kind of mid to long range stuff, the Doomfire Warlocks with their Mortal Wound spell they have you built as well, that's personally my favorite Daughters of Warlock. I love the sculpt, their hair flowing back with those horses like running in such a pelt, like they're just like this full forward unit, and I've always really loved those guys. So for me, it's like
I feel like they're one of the most swingy
right?
because their value depends on that skill roll,
isn't it? Yeah,
it becomes very dangerous, particularly if you're going up against Ash, who can just be like, "Oh, nice spell you tried there, bro."
Yeah, unbind. Look at that, +3. So yeah, I think that 100%. And for me, it's like because they're so swingy, I would go so deep into them because I'd be like, I'm looking to guarantee at least it goes off the way I need it to. So for me, it's like, and then obviously you verse like the Nagash matchup and the Techless match. Like, yes, okay, I lose. So all Doomfire Warlocks.
Let's talk about what's missing.
Aha.
So, first in Age of Sigmar. Obviously, Blades of Khorne not having a battle tome is really hurting them at the moment.
Yep.
So obviously they're not going to get shown because I think their battle tomes do.
Yep.
We
got nothing for no Disciples of Tzeentch.
No Disciples of
Beasts
Tzeentch.
Chaos,
No Beasts.
They're getting a new book.
They're getting a new book. So Beasts of Chaos and Blades of Khorne, completely understand.
Yeah.
Tzeentch had a very close release recently. I kind of disappointed that there was no Ogre Moor Tribes or Sons of Behemat box. I feel like it would have benefited greatly from having a box. Admittedly, it would have been quite expensive, but having a box of 2 Mega Gargants and a squad of Man Crushers
would be very good.
Would have been a very well sought after box.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think that's unfortunate that didn't get printed. I think Sons of Behemat have the benefit of being like the new King Brod. Rod or Grod? Brod.
Yeah.
King Brod, he's going to be like the Canis Rex of the Behemoth, where he can be like any kind of giant you want. You just buy that box and you get any giant.
Yeah.
You buy 3 King Brods and you have a Gargan army. And I feel like for me, I've always felt like, I didn't mention this much of the Chainbreaker Lance. I probably should have touched this a bit more. And I think the reason I didn't mention it was probably because it's so full of armigers, is that it does feel a bit like a cop-out in a way.
Yeah.
It feels a bit like a cop-out. I think it's very easy just to throw 2 big Gargants and 3 small guys in a box. But I also don't care if that makes sense. Like, I agree that could have been a great box. It would have sold really well, and I don't care if people would have gone, oh, it's it's a bit of a cop out because a couple of big models, like it's easy to do, and it's like, but if it's so easy, why that you could have done it?
That's a quintessential Sons of Behemat army.
Quintessential Sons of Behemat army is very useful.
Like if you're getting started, it doesn't give you like a full representation for Sons of Behemat that you really need. Like realistically, you need either 3 Mega Gargants and a squad of regular Gargants, or 2 Mega Gargants and like 2 to 3 squads of Man Crushers to really make that army work. So you're not getting a full workable piece, which you're not getting in any of these boxes anyway.
That's true, but maybe there's an argument here on the point that you make there. Maybe there's a point here where it's again, I talk about that fundamental flaw where it kind of puts it into the front lines of that fundamental flaw of the army, where it's like, oh, but if I buy a box right for Sons of Behemat and I get 2 Mega Gargant boxes like sprues and 1 Man Crusher sprue, that is the entire army. I don't have all the models I need because I still need more models,
you still need to get more models, but that is the entire army. Yeah,
so
that's true.
And it's not like, I'm not trying to be like pedantic or facetious. It's not like, oh, that's the entire army because the other models suck or they're not playable. There aren't other models. And I think they go, oh, we didn't do that because then you would go onto our website and go to buy more Sons of Behemat going, oh, I want like giants and I want more stuff. What about the little, they have like their own, like King Brod has those little like Gretchen creatures all over his like main. Can I bring 20 of those? It's like, no, there's no more in the army. So I think maybe that's the argument for that. Maybe the argument is that they didn't want to have this kind of representation like, you buy Sons of Behemat and this box answers everything for you and you're just buying more of what was in this box. Like, look at Cruel Boys where it's like, oh, if I bought that, I can now buy, if in the case I didn't already own the army, like we talked about, I could buy Marsh Crawler Slogoths, and I could build like Beast Skewer Killbows. Like, I could get whole different models, even the Maya Brute Trogoth, the Beastbreaker man.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Like, I have different models. So, but no, I don't, even then, even after all of that though, I think that's a fair perspective I'm bringing forward, but I still don't agree personally. Like, I still agree with you personally. I still think that even though players would find that there's not much in the range, they should still have access to an like a affordable way to get access, like get the whole range. Like, that should be a way to get it.
Realistically, as much work as this is from a product development standpoint, I believe that there should be a battle box for every army.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it makes the Christmas rush bloated. And I don't think necessarily we need Christmas battle boxes be every army, but I think we should have maybe like a quarter one, a half one, and then a half two.
Yeah, maybe
like a mid-year, like Christmas in July battle boxes followed by Christmas battle boxes. Right? Like, that way armies get that representation.
Like a summer and a winter.
A summer and a winter, yeah. Summer boxes, winter boxes. That's
because Ogre Moor tribes, I think, would benefit greatly as well. Like, I know they just got their Battletome update, but Ogre Moor tribes, because of that Battletome update, are very, I guess, kind of messy in the meta kind of thing. Like, it's not really like, are we going the Frostheart way, or are we going just like the Gluttons way, or where are we going with this? Having these battle boxes help, like, also telegraph that.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a really good point too. Definitely, like knowing where to go when you first invest in Warhammer, 40k or Sigmar, doesn't matter. It's very difficult. Knowing where to go immediately is so hard. You find yourself investing in bad models often. More often than not, I talk to players who've been in the game for a little while, only a couple of months, and they always talk about, oh, I didn't really want this unit. Like, a good friend of mine, Nick, we both know this guy, Nick, he bought into AdMech, and recently he's been using 6 Ballistari chickens, and he has 3 with guns, 3 with tasers, but whenever he plays the taser ones, he's always like, oh, I've realized I don't even need 6 of these guys, but I have them, and like, painted them, so I might as well put them on the table and play them all the time, but he's realized, and well, I don't agree. I think his list is fun. That's the problem. You kind of get good to telegraph you and tell you what to do in that respect. But also, on the point of Ogres, very quickly, like, it's so frustrating for me because I feel like Ogres have this horrible situation where Gluttons are Ogres. Gluttons and the big cannons and the big fat men that run at you and yell, that's Ogres, right? For me.
Yeah.
And for me, Beast Claw Raiders and the Ogre Moor tribes and the kind of like big Stonehorns, Thunder Tusks, that's a great army. That's a great aesthetic. They've been around for a long time now. I remember being really, really young when I first saw the Thunder Tusk, and I was like almost crying. It was such a good model. I love that model. But for me, it's like, it's just taken over so much of the Ogre's identity. The Ogre's identity is just eaten up by these giant like monsters and these Thunderfang cavalry, or whatever they're called. Might be a Space Wolf thing, right? Anyway, the little cavalry they have, and Thunder Tusk. No, that's the first thing. Whatever. There's the little baby guys. I can't remember the names.
Yeah.
But the point is that takes up so much of the identity of the army. And every time I see Ogres, people are like, yeah, I play Ogres, 3 Stonehorns. Oh yeah, I play Ogres, 3 Stones, Thunder Tusk. I'm always seeing these same armies. And I'm like, God, why there was a Christmas battle box that actually had like 18 Gluttons or something?
Because that comes into that discussion I had about Daughters of Cain, right? Where it's, hey, you should try this out, but I don't want to spend the money on it because I don't want to buy these models and then find that they don't work, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So, like, and because we have this issue now where everything's jammed together with Ogre Moor tribes, there's no either telegraphing of where to go, or if you buy this box, it's such good value that, I kind of bought it for the Gluttons, I kind of bought it for the Stonehearts or whatever, the Stone Tusks, but, it came with some Gluttons. And you know what? I'll try them out, see what goes on.
That's for me, yeah. And I feel like it's like the Gluttons, it's like, I always forget the names. There's the
Ironbreakers.
There's the Belchers, right, which are the shooting ones. There's the Gluttons, which are the melee guys. What are the ones with the big 2-handed ones? What are they called again? I always forget the name. They come with
oh my God, I forget now.
Yeah, there are a squad of guys that, Jamin would be able to help me right now because he loves these guys. There's a squad with 2-handed weapons, and they come with, like, you bring them with a tyrant, and they benefit in. Right? Anyway, it's like Iron Breaker or something, or Iron Belly or something. Anyway, and all those units, and then the big cannons they can bring with the guy at the back, the butchers with the big pot,
great maul pots and stuff, yeah.
Pots, what are they called? The man-eaters.
Man-eaters, yeah.
That, like, put all of that in one big box together, please. Like, that would have been so cool because I personally think the Gluttons are really cool and I really want to see more people play them. But I think GW is telegraphing that you should play them as the Moor tribes. You should they're all called Moor tribes now, but you should play them as the Beast Claw Raiders. They're telegraphing that a lot. It's like, here's the new sculpts, here's the
Yeah.
new rules, mount traits, that kind of stuff. It's all about them. And it's like, look at the last Sigmar format before we had Gallant Veterans, where Ogre Gluttons were quite good. We had the monster format where the Stonehorns were insane. We had that very short format, right? And those at home, you may not know this, but there was a very short format where mount traits were not unique. Like you could bring the same mount trait in the very first rules of the game. Rules is written, not as intended, a mistake. You could bring the same mount trait in multiple units. So they all had Metal Cruncher, which was basically like a range mortal wound shot.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. And they all would bring it. So like the representation of Ogres for the last X amount of years has been all of those. It's sad to me that they didn't get a box at all. But it would have been even more sad to me if they did get a box and it was Stonehorns and Thunder.
Yeah, it was just the Beastclaw Raiders start collecting times 2. Yeah.
Times 1.8 or something. Who knows?
I know. In terms of 40k, obviously we got a big issue. Not a single Xenos. Oh yeah, well no Tau. Yeah, I guess.
Sag, no Tau. But no Xenos.
No Xenos at all. No Gene Stealer cults. No Tyranids.
Active choice. Yeah, there was an active choice made there. I think they wanted to do it that way. I don't know why. I can't tell you why.
Saying that the Xenos factions are still pretty better. So maybe, possibly,
I can see this.
There's a realm where this isn't just about moving through. This may be also about feeding underrepresented factions out into the world to see if people are playing with these things that the meta guys at GW HQ are going. Maybe there is something here that these units can battle with, and they're getting the battle boxes out there so that they can be like, hey, if more people get hold of these groups, they can maybe massage a list here that'll work in the meta. Unfortunately, they don't realize that. I don't think hardcore meta players buy these boxes.
No, I think there's two layers here. The first one, which is I agree. I think what you're making here about this whole changing up the format could even not be looking at the competitive format. It could just be looking at the format in general, because the competitive format might have just been so stagnated recently, or at least in the context of the entire game, that people in the casual space are also playing these more competitive decks. So maybe the idea is I keep saying deck, competitive armies. So maybe there's a layer where it's we want the casual play space to be we want all these people who just get into the game to kind of get into the boxes, which we believe to be good, genuinely quite good, not competitive, but good. And then what happens is they can win games or lose games, whatever. But when they're playing casually in an LGS or something, they're going to be playing these underrepresented factions. So all of a sudden, what the competitive game is, and then what the game is at a beer and pretzels level, are two different games almost. Yeah. Because we've given all these people these cool
which is realistically what it should be.
Exactly. And also, your point is interesting, because I think I don't necessarily agree that all of the boxes scream that to me, that they're looking to fix it. No. But the Imperium box does. The Imperial Fist box.
Yeah.
That box screams at me what you're saying. It screams at me who would justify buying 5 Marines at $105? Yeah. They're just not going to do that. So now we can give them 15 of these Marines, which, you should probably in Imperial Fist, it's a good idea to skew towards that. I've done it plenty of times.
I mean, I could also say that maybe the Raven Guard boxes too, because I'm not seeing people buy Invicta Tactical War Suits. So.
And at the start of night, they were. So who knows? It could definitely be that case.
Who knows?
I feel like the Invicta Tactical War Suits and the Phobos Librarian definitely point me in that direction. Same with the Eliminators. The Reavers and Cave End Strike are just the fluff insert.
Yeah.
Almost no. I feel like the Imperial Fist box though doesn't drop the ball at all. 15 heavy intercessors, 3 aggressors, and Torgaradon. That's Imperial Fist in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And that's a list. All you need now, what if I had to upgrade that list? I would buy 2 apothecaries, Primaris apothecaries, and 2 boxes of Centurion heavy Devastator.
Yep.
I think that would be the perfect Imperial Fist Siege Master. And you build a wall.
You've built a wall.
And you've built a wall, and you have the perfect Siege Master game plan. And I think that's really.
And the only thing you need to worry about are a flock of gargoyles with a 12-foot ladder.
Yeah, I guess that's it. That's all you need to worry about out for, which is definitely valid, 100%. But you're not going to worry about Ravenous and stuff. You can Auspex scan and stuff. So if anyone tries to deep strike too close to you, you can answer it. So there's some cool stuff there. And the apothecary is keeping you alive, resing your dead. You could do stuff like that. Selfless Sealer with the one of them. So yeah, I feel like there's a list there. So I feel like the Imperial Fist definitely pushed me in that vein, for sure.
So yeah, definitely an argument to be made then about the summer winter boxes because of the fact that no Xenos representation in this.
Yeah.
Because maybe it would have been nice to see Gene Stealer cults, because I know Tyranids are going great, but Gene Stealer cults are in this kind of wavy kind of pattern.
They're definitely the player more than the army, right?
Yeah.
And the matchups, because there was one GSC player who I think won 4-1 at an event recently, but he literally went orcs, 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 orcs bloody.
Yeah.
And he was like, wow, I went 4-1. Sorry, go on.
That sounds like a problem with the orcs.
Sounds like a problem with the orcs, yeah. Crazy, that one.
So, yeah, I definitely think there's space in that front as well. But,
Yeah,
you know, I mean, it could be better, as always, with G-Dub.
Also, where's the Votan battle box?
Yeah, you know,
First of all.
ridiculous. Yeah, Votan.
Yeah, why am I getting heavily discounted Votan models?
Yeah.
What's happening here, Games Workshop? Come on.
What about Slaves to Darkness? Yeah, where's my
Yeah.
Slaves to Darkness battle? oh wait,
dude,
it
if there
dropped
was
last
I was
week.
gonna say, if there was a Slave Dark like Christmas box, I'd be pissed. I'd be very angry. I'd be like, what? I've
just
got one
bought
on
the
my
army
shelf. I've got one on my shelf over there. Like, what's happening?
Cool. Well, let us know what you think as well about the
Yeah.
Christmas battle boxes. Are they everything you hoped and dreamed for this fine 2022 Christmas when you finally can get back out and play again? Do you want more? Do you agree with us? Like where you want to see more boxes? Let us know in the comments. That's always helpful.
Do you have like a recipe for Napoli sauce to put on like a nice chicken palmy? Put that in the comments. Really, whatever you want to talk
whatever
about.
you want to talk about. Don't forget
Yeah.
to click like on the video as well. It's completely free and it helps push the algorithm for us here at From the Vault. And subscribe to the channel. Get the bell on to get notified every time a new video goes live. And if you want to keep the discussion happening as well, not only you can do it in the comments, you can join the Discord server at the link down below in the comments, and you can talk directly with us.
Yeah.
Well, that's the main topic. I guess the only thing left to do is to play a little game.
Play a little mini game.
Play a little game.
You have a game prepared, Dylan?
I don't have a game prepared this time.
I have a game prepared.
Yeah, no slideshow this time for me.
So today, no slideshow, nothing up at all, because I also make these on my phone's like notes app on Samsung Notes. Today, this one's going to be something that I don't think anybody in the chat's going to be able to guess. I've cherry-picked names of characters, both large and small, within Fantasy and Age of Sigmar.
Yep.
And within the Imperium of 40k. Okay? Out of all of these characters, okay? One of these characters is a Age of Sigmar or fantasy character. And two of these characters, okay, are from 40k.
Okay.
You need to guess the correct answer. Which one of these is a fantasy character?
All right.
All right. Are you ready?
Piper,
And
have you done
Piper
this?
can, of course, guess this. Piper hasn't seen these at all. There are like 6 or so questions here.
All right.
Try and guess this. All right.
Let's go.
And Piper can guess too. The first one is Aldebrand Lugenhoff, Piper Achilles, or Albert van der Treek.
All right. So I'm looking for the Warhammer. I'm looking for the
You're looking
Old World / Age of Sigmar.
Old World / Age of Sigmar.
Can you repeat the question?
I can repeat the names if you'd like. Aldebrand Lugenhoff, Piper Achilles, Albert van der Treek.
I think the first one.
I was thinking the first one too. So
Correct
I'll
answer.
I'll go the second one just to make it a little different.
So Dylan's answer is Lugenhoff. Your answer is Tiger Achilles.
Yeah.
The answer for Tiger Achilles. The first answer is Aldebrand Lugenhoff.
Hey!
Aldebrand was an Empire character.
Yeah.
The next question.
Wait, what were
next
the other
example.
two?
The other two, Tiber Achilles is a knight, like a preceptor knight, and I think Albert van der Treek is just an inquisitor. He's just a generic. Nothing too exciting. He had he's
Just
one
a
of those,
casual inquisitor.
he's in the books with like a giant Xenos bird on his shoulder.
Oh, okay.
He's not the one you're thinking of that is a model, but he's like one of those. The next characters.
Yep.
Anastasia Achilles, Günther von Bilthofen, Sir Dirkvold.
Gunther.
Yeah, Gunther. Let's go with Gunther.
That's your answer, just based on the name Günther?
Yeah, just based on Gunther.
The answer is Günther von Bilthofen. All right.
We're so
next
good
one.
at this.
Yeah.
The next one. This one's harder.
Yeah, all right.
Or maybe it's not, because we'll
Another
see.
name's Gunther.
No Günther this time. All right.
Okay.
Ezekiel Sedane, Gore Halfhorn, Neve Blacktalon.
Oh, I know this one.
Yeah, I think I know this.
Yeah, the names are, and I will repeat it. I promise you, this is hard. Ezekiel Sedane, Gore Halfhorn,
Yep.
Neve Blacktalon.
And now we're looking for the Age
You're
of
looking
Sigmar?
for the Age of Sigmar or fantasy.
Yep. I know what the answer is.
Let's see if does Piper.
What's your guess, Piper?
I want to say Neve.
It's Neve Blacktalon.
I want to say
Neve Blacktalon. That's your answer.
Yeah.
The answer is in fact Neve Blacktalon.
Yeah, she was in Malign Portents.
She was in the Malign Portents. There you go. She is a Stormcast Eternal. All right. The next one is Alzir Nahazim, Viridian, Jack Draco. Alzir Nahazim, Viridian, and that's Viridian with a Y, like Viridian, and Jack with a Q, Jack Draco.
A Y and two N's and a Y, but not
Not
where you think it.
Exactly.
The first one sounds like a Tomb King's guy.
It does, I guess, yeah. That reminds me of like Exalted Sorcerer of the Thousand Suns. Not like
Or that too.
specifically
yeah.
that.
Oh,
Not like
yeah.
specifically that. No, I'm just saying it reminds me of that.
Christ. I don't know, Pipo. You got any thoughts? Head empty?
Jack.
You think it's Jack?
Wait,
Jack.
no, wait. You think it's Jack, or just you've got Jack all in your head thinking about this?
I've got Jack all in my head.
Yeah, okay, that's what
so
I
it's
thought. I just
Jack.
wanted to clarify on that one. I had an inkling you were on the same boat as me on that one. Let's go number 2.
Viridian?
Yeah,
What about you,
Viridian.
Piper?
Jack.
The answer is Alzir Nahazim, who was a Cities of Sigmar, like Wizard
Oh,
of the Light Magic. Yeah, very cool, right?
We can't win them all, man. We
All right,
can't
all
win
right.
'em
You can't win them all, otherwise it wouldn't be fun. All right, we got 2 more, the last 2.
I was like, that was too much of a gimme. That was almost as much of a gimme as Gunter.
Almost as much as a gimme as Gunter. It's spelled like Gunthar, so you know it's Gunthar, but I was like, I have to say Gunter. Gunthar. All right, for the next one.
All right.
Luthor Huss, Gideon Ravenor, John Grammaticus.
I'm pretty sure Grammaticus is 40k.
You think Grammaticus is 40k? What do you think?
Yeah, I think
So the names are Luthor Huss, Gideon Ravenor, and John Grammaticus.
If that man is anything but a scribe, I'm disappointed.
I'm gonna go Luthor.
You think it's Luthor
I
Huss?
think it's.
Yeah, I think it's Luthor Huss.
The answer is in fact Luthor Huss.
Yes.
All right, and now we're up to the very last question. The very last one.
All right.
These aren't super difficult because obviously there's like naming conventions. You'll probably hear them here, but this one I think is a little bit tougher because one's going to be a bit of a catch-22. Mishen. The first name is Mishen.
Any vowels?
E. Like Shen from League of Legends, S-H-E-N, but it's M
Apostrophe.
apostrophe S-H-E-N. Mishen.
Yep.
Ludwig Schwarzhelm. Ragnir Gunstein. Ludwig Schwarzhelm or Ragnir Gunstein? Or is it Mishen? By the way, I don't want to just like go past Mishen.
I feel like we can put Mishen in a little box here, and we can just move that over to the side.
You don't think Mishen's from Fix Sigmar?
I think we'll just put that one over here because the other two have very Empire-sounding names.
They do.
Or-
That's Ludwig Schwarzhelm and Ragnir Gunstein.
I'm gonna go Ragnir.
I'm gonna go Ludwig then, just to be different.
The answer was Ludwig Schwarzheim.
Yes.
Schwarzhelm, sorry. So, fun fact, Mishen should be a very, very well-known character because Mishen was the assassin that assassinated Conrad Kurz.
Conrad Kurz.
He assassinated the Night Lord's Primarch. It was a Calidus assassin. Oh, they did. I don't know if it's a male. They did. Yeah, Mishen, very important character of Y40K, but yeah, anyway. Very well played, everyone. Great games.
I love that. It's like, is it Mishen or these two very
Or
European?
Ludwig Schwarzhelm.
These two very European names.
Or is it Mishen?
Or is it Mishen?
It could have been Mishen. It could have been a big like thing. I really thought Gore Halfhorn would have been something because he's a beast man. He is from Rogue. The Gore.
That was good.
Gore.
I
which
was
from
I was
Fantasy.
definitely stuck on him for a bit. I was like,
Oh, this was fun. It's a great episode once
It's a
again.
great episode. Yeah, thanks so much.
You, man.
And thank you out there for joining us. We'll be back for another From the Vault podcast in the near future. Don't forget to click like and subscribe on the video, on the channel, get notified every time a new video goes live. Join the Discord. and leave a comment down below. How many of those did you get right? Be honest.
True, be honest. Also, if you have any ideas for like content, like you guys want to hear us talk about something specifically, just let us know in the chat. I'm always in the comments. Dylan's always in the comments. We're reading that stuff.
Or if you have a little game for us.
Oh yeah, game ideas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that at the end.
Jump on the Discord and then tag me in like the stream out the Discord privately. That I go wrong. See, there's ways to do it. Anyway,
thanks so much for joining us. Thank you, Producer Piper.
Thank you, Piper. Thank you, Piper.
Thank you, Talon.
Did you just forget to unmute yourself again?
No, I accidentally hit it twice, so I unmuted then muted myself, but we're back. I don't know why you keep bringing attention to the fact that I keep screwing up muting and unmuting myself.
I'm watching Piper get more and more red as she's...
The viewers don't need to know this.
I'm telling them. All right, well, thanks again.
All right, thanks so much, everyone. Stay safe. Wash your goddamn hands. Bye, everyone.
Bye, all.